welcome to the Posecast. Today, we're doing a little something different. It will be the panel edition of the Posecast. We have four former NBA guys here to talk about the season that's going on right now, as well as other topics and things that's going on in the NBA. And we're going to get started first. We have TJ Ford joining us today. We also have Etan Thomas. We have Antoine Walker. And we got James Big Game Posey, who is the star of the show. And he's going to go ahead and lead us off. But before he does, I want to remind everyone to please listen to all the pods powered by basketballnews.com on all your favorite listening platforms. Now that's the way. Go ahead, Pose. Go ahead and take us off.
What up, J-Mo? What up, Twan, TJ, E-Town? What's up, fellas?
What's up, baby?
What up?
What's going on?
Man, let me start out shouting out my boy Ron Face. Huh?
Etan Walker, what's up?
T, what's up?
Sir.
You got two bald head guys on there too. Okay, shit. I see me and Tom hold it down with some hair over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout out to my man Ron Faison or whatever. Appreciate the hoodie right here. I made you. I would I play you? Ron Faison. Appreciate the love, my man. So we here. We talking basketball. You know what I'm saying? We had a bubble season last year. You know what I'm saying? So now this year is not a bubble. Teams are playing in their arenas. And so now we're trying to get a good feel for how the season going to go and who's going to end up on top and are the Lakers going to defend. So we'll start off, we'll talk about the Chicago Bulls. You know, they got a new coach in Billy Donovan. And right now they're 4-4. You know, they key players, you know what I'm saying? They got Zach Levine, and then they got the young boy Markelle. What y'all feel about, I know, Twan, you in Chicago. What's the buzz around there? How the city feeling about the Bulls?
The city's feeling really good because they finally switched management up top. The city's had a kind of a dark cloud over them with Gar Forman and John Paxson running the team for so long. So they got obviously different management, new front office, and then Billy Donovan coming in now. The Bulls have actually looked surprisingly very good early on in the season. They have an identity now a little bit. They're shooting the three like other teams that in the league do. They're shooting 43s a game. And they're actually playing with a situation now where the guys know their role. Zach Levine just had a breakout game the other day. Larry Markkanen, Wendell Carter, these guys are shooting threes. And they lottery pick, they picked fourth a guy who's off the bench for Florida State. And watch out for him. I'm going to be the first one to say this. Watch out for him. He's going to be a very, very good player in this league. A lot of people don't know about him, and a lot of people question their pick at number 4. But Patrick Williams is going to be really, really good.
That's good. So it sounds good over there. I know they got some good guards over there in with the Bulls. TJ, I know you've been peeping. What you feel about their guard play over there with the young boy having some years under his belt?
I mean, when you look at the Kobe White kid, I mean, he had success last year, you know, as a player, and he had some big games. And then when you look at a guy who they brought in, a Billy Donovan, a guy who's proven that he can take young talent and develop that talent to another level. So I think with his college background and his success that he had in OKC, him taking that to Chicago with that young talent that they had and growing into one piece, I think you're seeing their record being, like you said, 4-4 this early on in the season. And I think, the Bulls is a team that's going to be scary at the end because you got Levine, you got shooters, you got length down low with all the bigs. And I think over the course of the season, I mean, Chicago is a good team for the future. And I think Billy Donovan is he's showing you the growth that those guys are having in the first, before the first 10 games of the NBA season.
Hey, Etan, I know you love your big man, and I understand that. So what you think about the big fella, Wendell Carter?
I like Wendell Carter. I think he's going to continue to improve. They're a team that I wouldn't say struggling for identity, but they're rebuilding their identity. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they grow. I think it's kind of going to go one way or the other with them as the season progresses. I don't think it's really going to be a middle ground. Either they're going to do well or they're not going to do well. And I think they have some. I like their backcourt. I like Kobe White. I'm a big fan of his. Zach Levine, we know he can play. It'll just we just have to see how they all develop and how they grow. Like I said, it's kind of, I guess you would say this is a rebuilding year for them, right? It's a rebuilding year, so we'll just have to see how Right. We'll see how everything comes together.
Yeah, so I mean, because we know what Billy did in OKC. So now he got a new crop of young talent over there, and then of course to implement his system and things like that. So it should be interesting to see. So you can say it's a rebuilding, but they got some pieces over there.
Right.
Now, with that being said, the Bulls, like you guys mentioned, they are rebuilding, but they have some decisions to make. Lowry Markkanen is going to be up for an extension soon, and also Zach Levine. We all know he's up for an extension, or they're going to have to end up moving him, or he may leave as a free agent. If you guys are making the decisions in Chicago, what would y'all do? And I'll start with Etan first.
Well, I like Zach Levine. You know what I mean? You have to see what he is going to command, but he's going to command quite a bit. So you have to make a decision. So if you don't, if say you start rebuilding and you start gaining momentum and stuff like that and playing better this year, and then you lose Zach Levine, then you're going to start all over. You know what I mean? I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but that's the decision they have to make. We'll see. And I think a lot of that depends because we had that situation here with the Wizards where we weren't winning yet here, but they had to re-sign Bradley Beal. You know what I mean? So could they let him go and start all over even though they weren't winning? Or did they just sign him and then start building from there? And I think that's the situation that Chicago's going to be in. I mean, I don't know if they're going to, necessarily turn around immediately. So they're going to have to make that decision on Zach Levine. He's a star player, so they're going to have to pay the man.
Go ahead, Twan.
Well, I think living in Chicago and having seen how things have gone in the last 4 or 5 years with the Bulls, unfortunately, surprisingly, being this great city, this is not a free agency. Free agents don't come to Chicago. This is not a free agent destination where guys think about, hey, I want to go to Chicago and play. So with the Bulls, they got to be really smart. And I think you have to re-sign those guys. You can't continue to try to get into the free agent market and hope a guy comes there. Zach Levine is probably, last year he could have made the All-Star team. This is a guy that, averages 22, 23 points a game. That's very difficult to find that in the league. So if you get a guy that can produce like that, and then you also got to remember Zach Levine was a part of that Jimmy Butler trade. So you still want that to pan out. You still want people to say, hey, look, we traded for this guy, and he turns out to be a really, really good player. So you got to re-sign both of those guys. That's a no-brainer. And you got to start, like says, you got to start the process now of building something and get some mainstays. This, unfortunately, it's just not a free agent spot. I don't know why people don't want to come to Chicago. It's a big market. It's a sports town, but a lot of free agents don't talk about coming to Chicago.
Man, because it's cold.
Before we go on to TJ
it's
real
cold
quick.
out there. You got to dress warm, man.
Well, not, but it's still Chicago. It's still a major city. Like, why isn't Chicago a main free agent destination? It's in the middle of the country, so you can get to wherever you got to get to in a timely manner. It's a major city that has a lot of stuff to do. Why is it in a place people want to go to?
It's tough. I would have to say, and I'm gonna keep it 100. I just believe that, when you think of Chicago, sometimes it's, you think about the violence here. That's the stuff that gets publicized. A lot of guys want to avoid that. The Bulls have done a good job of bringing the Bulls into the city and rebuilding new practice facilities and making them live downtown, putting them in better places, making the situation a lot better. All that stuff matters. So I think that plays a part in it as well. And then you got to, it looks like in this day and age, I'm sure we're going to talk about this as it goes along. Everybody wants to play with their homeboy, their friend. And, we don't necessarily have those guys that are attracting other guys to come play with.
Hey, now that you mentioned that too, we know the history and tradition of the Bulls, winning MJ and stuff like that. Do you think that's too much on the free agents or players there, like just to come there and got to deal with that too?
Nah, that mistake over with. I think people here respect Michael. They respect the Bulls team. The Bulls have done a terrific job. A lot of those guys were still hired and around the Bulls. When you think about Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Kukoc, they were like ambassadors for the team. But I'm quite sure Scottie's a good friend of mine. Scottie's not working with the Bulls anymore. John Paxson took a step back. So you're starting to get rid of a lot of the older guys that kind of had that little halo over their head in Chicago. So you can come now and play. Chicago's starving for a new superstar and a good basketball team.
Man, I think you guys are not realizing the impact of Derrick Rose and the type of level and type of talent Derrick Rose was. He was on the level of LeBron James if he was right neck and neck. And I think when you make that trade and get rid of the heart of the city of Chicago, it's going to take a long time to recover from that. You don't get one of those players every so often, and he was one of those game-changing athletes and icon in some type of form and fashion. And that's not easy to come after. And we kind of seeing that, wherever LeBron James departs, especially like in the city of Cleveland.
That's a great point. I do, TJ. I think that's a great point. I think other people look at that, other players. You was a guy, you got hurt before in your career that set you back a little bit. Derek, over for a couple of years, over a span of 2.5 years, he had a couple knee injuries, and they kind of lost. They didn't want to wait in the rebuilding process. So then you get rid of Luol Deng, you get rid of Joakim Noah, you get rid of Jimmy Butler. You get rid of a 65-win team. You fire the coach. I mean, you just basically tear the whole organization up, and you have to start from scratch. So I do agree with you with that, and I think a lot of players do look at that sometimes.
And Twan, think about this, Twan. At Derrick Rose' peak, he didn't want to play with other players.
That's true.
So at his peak, when everybody would want to come to Chicago and play in Chicago, Derrick Rose was good enough to handle it by himself.
Yeah, the last time, you're right, because the last time that we went to, Carmelo Anthony was on the market, Melo was here, but, Derek was not very vocal as far as, recruiting them and wanting to play. He just kind of did it behind the scenes. It wasn't like some of these guys are, in the media trying to get guys to come play with him. So, yeah, you are right about that. Derek did want to do it himself, but they had a good team. They were a team, and, unfortunately, they had to go against the King. They couldn't get past the King. It's tough when you can't get past LeBron James. LeBron, they couldn't get past him. They had some great battles. They would take LeBron them, 6-game series, but they weren't able to get past him.
Definitely. Now, TJ, before we move on to the next team, what are your thoughts on the current Bulls team?
I mean, they're going in a good direction. I mean, you're seeing it now. I think when you look at young talent and you compare those guys' age to the other superstar guys in the league, I don't think those guys are far off. I think we're just waiting for this torch to be passed. I mean, we'll see what happens with LeBron James, how long he can carry this streak out. And then you got to look what's going on in the East with Brooklyn now with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So I think if any of these young guys and young talent in the mix, when you look at the Boston, you look at what's going on in Minnesota, you look at going on with the Cavs, Atlanta, I think it's a lot of good mix of talent where anybody can really, really take off here. And I think the Bulls are going in the right direction. And you got some good centerpieces that you can build around, and those guys prove that they can, they can get busy in the NBA for real. So I'm like, Twan, you got to re-sign those guys.
All right, moving on, going to my home team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and my former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now they're 4-3, pretty good. I'm saying they got the kid in Colin Sexton. He's been playing lights out. They also got the young boy Darius Garland. They got my man Jetty Osman. He's stepping up big now that he's getting major minutes, lots on his shoulder. And you can't forget the man in the middle, K-Love. He's injured right now, but he's still a man in the morning, the man in the middle, and he's looking to do big things hopefully this year. So what y'all think about those Cavs? And without them making a bubble last season, are they out to prove something? I mean, they got a nice core in those guards that can hold it down on the perimeter. But like I said, they need K-Love to step up and play big as well. What y'all think about that?
For me, for Cleveland, obviously, I think this is a rebuilding year. You got a new coach, JB, and trying to establish his style. They gave him a short deal, so that's always a lot of pressure to know if he has to win right away as a coach. But I think you just try to establish culture. You try to establish a style. It's a new regime. I think you trade Kevin Love. I believe Kevin Love still's got some basketball left. I think he's not motivated. When you go playing for championships and be in the playoffs and the finals, and now you're in a rebuilding mode, and we all have been a part of different teams like this, it's tough to get motivated to play when you're not playing for much. And Kevin Love, I think, is too far along in his career for a rebuilding stage to go back to those Minnesota days where he was putting up huge numbers. So I think you trade him. You got a great backcourt. The league is a guard-driven league, so you got two guys that can put it in the basket. It seems like they're starting to play really good together in the backcourt and learning how to play together. They still a ways away. And then they got a decision to make. And we know that's with Andre Drummond. Do you give Andre Drummond another $100 million in a league that's not really center driven? Etan probably could answer this a lot better with Drummond. But the question is, how good is he? Is he a young Dwight Howard that's going to block shots, rebound, dominate the paint? We've seen some flashes where he's been great, but is he a guy that you want to, give another max deal to? So they got to figure that out as well. But they're a ways away, probably a couple years from where they need to be. Definitely not a playoff team, but I think they can be very competitive every night.
Yeah, I think that Drummond. I think Drummond, JaVale McGee. I think they could be a little bit more useful on a little bit of better team, a little bit of team that's a little bit further along this point in their career. I think you made a good point about Kevin Love. And sometimes it's good to have some veterans along with the younger players when you're rebuilding. But I think in this case, I think they could be a little bit more productive kind of on a team that's further along, to be honest with you. I think Drummond has a lot left. I don't know about max and everything like that, but I think that if he was on a team, he would definitely contribute to a playoff team. You know what I mean? A team that's really pushing to try to get to that next level. But like I said, they're a young team. They're, you want to, with a young team, if you're going to go young, go young. That's what I think. You're going to go young, let young players play, try to build and stuff like that. But teams that are like caught in the middle, we have a few young players and then a few vets, and you know what I mean? You don't really know the direction that you're going in and everything like that. Those are teams that are in limbo. So I figure if they're going to go young and fully rebuild, they should just go all the way young. That's my thought.
So, you forget, too, they still got Larry Nance Jr. They signed him, to a little deal, a couple years ago or whatever. So as far as young bigs, in a sense, that's really their young big. So, he's going to have to rise up to the occasion as well. And like you said, they do have a backcourt. So now it's just everybody else in the middle to see if they can, like I said, put it together and win some games. K-Love, injury, like I said, you trade him. What do you get for him? You know what I'm saying? And now, like I said, does that set you back in a sense to where you have another few years where you start to rebuild and try to get back to your winning ways? TJ, what you think about the young kid, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland?
They got a good backup. I think when you look at that situation, is which one of these guys are really going to, take control of that situation and be a franchise player for that team going forward. I think they both. But I think when you look at it, I think Saxon coming to the league and being aggressive kind of reminds me more of like a Patrick Beverly type style player. I think that he'll have longevity. Obviously he gets in and he defends you, and I kind of draw that comparison to Patrick Beverly type, but with more of a scoring ability. But when I look at the other kid, Darius, that kid, he can shoot the basketball off the bounce, catch and shoot. He doesn't have to have it in his hand all the time. And you look at, the Porter kid, I think they got a lot of young pieces, just going to determine on how quick can JB, get these guys to play with this intensity and focus where they can play at an elite level to be one of the, top tier of upcoming young athletes. It's definitely in their making with the opportunity, but, what they do with it, I think, I like that they do have some vets as bigs, but I think game-wise, I think they're going to have a shot to fight for the playoff spot for sure.
You said you do? You think they got a shot, huh?
I think all these teams do. I think the Cavs do.
Yeah, but everybody got a shot early in the season, man. Come on, man.
Well, I just think under the new rules, though, you get a better opportunity to fight for a seed under the new rules. So it's not just 8 teams in there. So so under the new rules, it gives somebody else an opportunity to get, jump into the fire.
I got you. I hear you.
Now, TJ, do you think that that backcourt has potential to be like a Dame and CJ out east? You got two guards that can go, a little undersized a bit, but they can go. Do you think they have that kind of potential going forward?
No, I don't see that in those guys. No, not at this stage. I think what we're finding out with those two guys, they're elite scorers, but to be able to perform at a level every night, I think at the beginning of the season it's really, really tough for Portland when they should be winning these games. But those two guys that we're talking about, Dame Dollar, I mean, that's a Hall of Fame player. He definitely going to end up being in this generation's top 50 player. Those guys got a long way to go. Not saying that they can't be it, but I don't see it as of today.
So TJ giving the Cavs an early playoff prediction. That's one team. That's one team out of the 8. All right, we're going to move on to the Detroit Pistons now. I mean, it ain't the bad boys, but they are the Pistons. Coach Dwayne Casey over there, coming from Toronto, and they're just trying to get the pieces together. Blake Griffin's been there. He's been injured. They've had, some players in and out, and not a steady roster full of talent over there. What y'all see for the Detroit Pistons? Where is this going to go? You player-wise or coach-wise, how do you feel about that?
I like what Jeremy Grant's doing. I have to say, I've seen him grow up, so I do have a little bit of bias here with him. You know what I mean? I've seen a young cat grow up, and I like how he is coming to his own. I like the way he played last year with Denver. I think he's looked really, really strong. As far as a whole, how the team, I don't know. You know what I mean? They're one of those teams where you see little flashes, you see, people who you're rooting for. Like I said, rooting for Jeremy Grant, rooting for Derrick Rose doing everything, his thing. But I don't really know how it's all coming together, to be honest with you. So for me, I would say I'm rooting for individuals. that's what I would say on there.
Yeah.
Detroit's a tricky situation. Troy Weaver, if I'm not mistaken, just took over as the GM there. He made a ton of moves. And not all moves I agree with. Obviously, Jerry Grant had a great year. I do agree with you, Etan. I think, he got rewarded well. Denver are going to really realize that they miss him once we get close to the playoffs and get his ability to guard and defend and improving his offensive game. He's a big-time talent, and I give him a lot of credit, the work he put in on his game. So they got a steal there. I think that's a good start. Then you look at Blake Griffin. He's probably got a hold on the organization right now. I mean, he's making big money. I think he has a couple years left on his deal. It seems like the injuries have took their toll on him. He'll probably never be the same player again. He's became a kind of a three-point shooter that demands minutes. I mean, it's tough to sit a Blake Griffin, a guy who's accomplished so much in his career. And then you got Derrick Rose coming off the bench. He's, so I think they got different personalities on that team. I don't really think they have. I think he's trying to piece together. You look at some of the other signings. I mean, Miles Plumlee, you take him from Denver as well. Jahlil Okafor, you take another guy, you take him. I mean, it seemed like he just put together a team. He wanted to put together a more quality team. I don't necessarily know if Dwayne Casey's your coach. We've never seen really Dwayne coach team that were less talent than he's had. When he inherited the Toronto Raptors team, that was a very talented team that he won 55, 60 games when. He was another guy, got caught up in the LeBron James situation, couldn't get past LeBron James. It's unfortunate for Dwayne Casey. But Detroit, I don't have them as a playoff team. I think they're ways away. I think, you got to give Troy Weaver a chance. It looks like he's willing to spend the money. These were marginal guys in the free agent market, probably besides Jerry Grant, and he went out and spent some money on them guys. Didn't like the fact he let Luke Kennard go. So it's some moves in there, being that shooting is such a premium in the NBA. So I just think he's trying to figure it out. This is his first time being a GM. He's made a lot of moves really quickly, kind of dismantle that roster. So I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I think they'll show flashes and be competitive all season long, but I don't have them doing much this year.
That's fair.
TJ, I know you had spoken D Rose early. Now he's in, past couple of seasons been in Detroit. So the flashes of the old D Rose feels like he's in a good comfort zone and everything. What do you see from him? His leadership skills stepping up, but is it enough to help that Piston team?
Man, I'm just happy to be able to see his strength and his willpower just pushing through all these injuries just for this game that he loves. And I think for him at this point, I think he made a run to try to win a championship and get with these guys and see what it would feel like in Cleveland, but I don't think it meshed with all those guys. And I think now when you look at what his role and what he's been successful at and revamping his career, is his mentorship on these teams. So I think when you look at Derrick Rose with the Pistons and what he's doing for the young draft pick that they drafted this year, I think he fits into any youth movement with a point guard. I would want Derrick Rose right there mentoring that kid. So I think where he is at peace. And, you know, I love that he's giving that back to the game more than anything. And I think he's valuable in the team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I when he was in Cleveland, you know, he's just a quiet guy. He came in, he worked hard, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, he was, you know, he just needed his space and, you know, he stepped away a little bit, but now it just seems like he's in a better place right now. You know, he's playing at a high level for the most part. And like I said, I'm just happy to see him out there playing and, you know, so just at peace for the most part.
And you look at it, the guys look at the teams he played, Minnesota, and then look what's going on in Detroit here. I mean, they're putting the ball in his hands, allowing him to be Derrick Rose and make plays. He can score the basketball. I think if he just pass the ball and run the offense, that's not his strong suit at all. And I think that's where his career has struggled. But as long as the ball is in his hand when he's in the game to make decisions, he's still one of the top backup point guards in the league to me.
Yeah, he'll finish strong. Derrick's still very competitive, like you say. He still wants to play at a very, very high level. I think a lot of people don't understand he was great in Minnesota and got it started back there. He had a great year last year. I mean, they basically shut him down after they went bad. But prior to that, Derrick was getting it done. Again, he was up for Sixth Man of the Year. He was right in that conversation. I think if I'm Derrick, he's in the last year of his deal. I think, you start to look for that Rondo type of situation where you can go on a team and play a huge part, maybe coming off the bench and try to play for a championship. You probably kind of done with those situations where you want to go play in places where you're rebuilding. I think he still has a good couple years left in him, but why not go get on a team where you can, chase a championship and be a part of something special? So I look to see Derrick making that transition as he moves forward. But with the Detroit situation, I just don't think it's there. I think they just in the rebuilding stage. They got to get younger. They got to get some of that, they got to get that bad contract, Blake Griffin off the books, and then they'll be able to start to turn the right way because they got a good star in Jerry Grant over there right now.
What will be a good fit for him? Stage of this career.
For who?
Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose. Where would he?
The Clippers. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
Yeah.
The Clippers.
I mean, I think, Patrick Beverley's, I love him. He's from Chicago, hard nose. But I don't know if I want Patrick playing 35 minutes anymore. I don't know if he's a 35-minute point guard. I think he's a guy that comes in, plays hard, gives you the defensive presence. But Derrick would be a great guy for them to come off the bench. Lou Williams is, Lou had a great year last year. But now you get another point guard. You can start Derrick and bring Pat off. You can do either one with those two guys. But I think Derrick would be a great pickup for the Clippers.
Yeah, I agree.
Good call right there. That's a good call.
Well, we're going to move it along to, talk about the Pistons for a little bit longer than we anticipated, but it's all right. Sorry, Scott. I know you're back there. I know that's your squad, but we're going to move it along. The Knicks. Everybody's on the Knicks right now. They got off to a really good start. Tibbs has had them playing some defense, has had them playing hard. I want to start off with Twan with this one. What are your thoughts on the Knicks this early, and is this sustainable?
I think one thing you got to know, it's a culture being built right now. Being from Chicago, I got a chance to watch Tibbs work and do the things that he did in Chicago with the Derrick Rose crew that we talked about earlier. But they're playing very hard. But one thing I love about this Knicks team is you see the improvement of individuals. And I always talk about that. Everybody's like, oh, blow it up and take this guy and put him on this team. But I look at R.J. Barrett shooting a jump shot better. He couldn't throw in the ocean last year. He's making threes. Julius Randle is now in the all-star talks, off to a tremendous start. People are trying to be on that big stage in New York. People are starting to see how really good he really is now. And it's not a fluke what he did in New Orleans. He's a really big-time 2010 guy. And then also getting guys to get back to playing good ball. I don't know how many games you guys have watched of the Knicks, but Alfred Payton has been unbelievable so far during the season. And then you got to give love to my Kentucky guy, Manu Quigley. He's been great coming off the bench. It looked like they got it right in the draft, too. So you got to think they got a lot of good things going their way. And it's just a new culture from up top to the obviously from management to coaching. But the main thing, one thing you always got to love about Tibbs, you're going to practice hard, you're going to work hard. And sometimes when
definitely.
you got a young, yeah. And if you got a young group, and you get them to buy in, and then the good thing about it, they getting a couple wins with it. You guys know that. One thing, if a coach is demanding and hard on you, and then it's translating into wins, guys are going to continue that. I still don't believe the Knicks are a playoff team. I think as the season goes along, I think they're off to a good start. I think they can hover around the 7th to 8th spot. We'll see if they'll be able to maintain as the season long. I just think in the league, at some point, talent wins. You got to have some type of superstars to win. So I do think they have a shot at the 7th to 8th seed to be competitive, but I don't have them making the playoffs right now.
I mean, they got the young draft pick too, Obi Toppin. He coming in, you know what I'm saying, getting his feet wet as well. You know what I'm saying? I think he's more like the 4, you know what I'm saying, a space on 4. But as you see in college, he's very versatile, dynamic jumper. He could shoot the ball. He had the total package in a sense. You know, would that help that Knicks team there? But also think about they still got Kevin Knox. Now, I think this is an important year for him too because, you know, last year was, you know, shaky for the most part, but I think this is a big year for him. So do you think between, you know what I'm saying, Obi and Kevin Knox, do you think they could, you know, get him on the winning track, at least, you know, the tail 7, 8, you know, seeds in it for the playoff? Because when y'all say it too, just think about it. It's not, you know, you don't have a home crowd. You're playing at the Gardens or whatever too. So it might be a comfort zone for some people where they ain't playing in front of a lot of people. So that might help some of those younger teams and younger talent, you know, make a little push or to get the energy enough just to build a roster and some wins to get to the playoffs.
But here's the thing with New York, you know, if you play hard, you know, they're going to respect you. And like you said, right now, you don't have the crowd effect, so you don't have to worry about that part. But with this team where they are, they're young teams that have a lot of hard workers. And this team can get respect from New York. You know what I mean? And the way that they're playing. I don't think it's necessarily if they, you know, they have to, you know, win now or you know, it's like it's terrible. I don't think that's the situation where they are right now in New York. New York just usually wants a good product where people go out there and play hard. And I like what I see on this roster so far. But like I said, I don't know if the expectations are really, you know, they have to make the playoffs or it's a failure. I don't think that's the type of situation that they're in right now.
Right.
Go ahead, TJ.
I mean, the Knicks for me, I mean, you got good coaching, Tibbs. You know, you're gonna work his players hard, like all you guys said, but it's hard to really put a judgment on the New York Knicks until these guys are able to have fans back in the stands so we can see how these guys under that pressure. But Knicks is not really they're not on my radar right now until these guys perform in the Garden with fans back in the arena. That's when I want to see them play.
Now, question, how does not having the fans in the arena, now, obviously y'all played mostly with sellout crowds and mostly packed arenas. Now, there's some arenas back in the day where, you know, it was like half full, you know, sometimes a little less than half than full. What's the difference between playing with a sellout crowd and a less than half filled stadium?
I mean, it depends on if you winning or not.
In Orlando, with no fans, just media. Did y'all have to do that in some I'll let y'all answer that question.
I mean, honestly, for me, it depends on if we winning. Like if it's a good season and stuff like that. You know, if y'all not having a good season, stuff ain't going right. You know, the fans ain't helping you. You know what I mean? The fans make it worse sometimes. To be honest with you,
so they come to see the other team anyway.
Oh man, I've been through that. You know what I'm saying? I've been through that. And
we probably all have been through that one.
Yeah. So it all depends. But I think now what you're seeing with guys, they're adjusting to not having fans. I mean, they spent the year in the bubble. They know that they have to create their own energy on the bench. You see all the different teams kind of saying the similar things. So, you know, it's almost like the new norm. And it's just what it's going to have to be this year, you know? So I think people are all adjusted to that for the most part. That's what I think.
I mean, it does make a difference. We all know that, having fans and not fans. But one thing I got to give these guys credit for from the bubble to this point is the quality of basketball has been great. You know what I love seeing? I don't know if you guys do. I love to see the support of the bench, just watching those guys root each other on and creating their own energy. It's great. It just makes guys focus in. You know, as a basketball player, we all know how hard it is to stay focused through a long season. And with the setup right now, you just really focus on your job, man. You know, you kind of, you know, with the COVID protocols that's going on, I'm not sure of all the rules and everything that's going on, but I'm pretty sure you can't have any nightlife. You got to basically go home, play the game, and be around your immediate family. It's all about hooping. And we're seeing that. We're actually seeing some quality basketball for no fans and for the pandemic that we're going through. So I do want to give all the guys credit for being, you know, putting together a great show, because they're doing a good job of it.
Man, Twan, we was probably struggled, man, down in Miami. You talk about the little pandemic, these protocols, boy. We would have been stuck in the crib.
I know, right? It'd have been tough. South Beach would have been calling, baby.
Now, what would have been the adjustments? What would have been if they would have said, "Hey, you know what? Can't go out, can't club." What would have been the? Because there would have been some of y'all would have found something to do.
You're gonna move it to your house, man. You're gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? If you needed that if you needed that, you know, and I think it's tough sometimes. I bet you right now. I mean, like I said, I don't know the protocol or what everything that these guys have got to do right now, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's pretty strict. I think you got to probably stay around the same kind of core people that's around you on an everyday basis. I'm not sure you're allowed to bring a lot of different people around you with the testing that they're doing every day. So, I mean, it's a challenge. You got to give them guys credit. You know, you look at Durant right now, not have to miss 4 games. We're going to probably see this throughout. And one thing we got to touch on that people got to understand is that the second half of the season schedule hasn't even been done yet. They're doing that right now. So they need to figure out how this first half is going to work. And I don't know if you guys peeped it, but y'all see everybody's playing each other twice. I mean, the league has done a good job of like cut down travel, you know, cut some things out, you know, making guys play each other back-to-backs and, you know, figuring this thing out as it goes along. So Adam Silver's doing a terrific job of doing that as well. So it would be tough, but they make an adjustment. Everybody's doing it on the fly. You know, I like the fact that, you know, besides little James Harden incident, I'm sure we're going to get on, it ain't been a lot of wild things that's went on with the players. So I'm happy about that for our league.
All right, moving on from there, we got the Orlando Magic. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, I was going to say, before we move on to our next team, since the Magic are one of the most recent expansion teams out of all the teams in the league, I want to get everybody's thoughts on expansion. I kind of want to start with Etan, just the thoughts of the expansion talk, of them adding 2 teams and doing some reconfiguration with the divisions and whatnot. Just want to get everybody's thoughts on it, but I want to start with Etan.
Well, I would imagine that Seattle has to be one of the teams. I mean, if they do expansion and don't do Seattle, that'll be so messed up. They gotta give Seattle back their team for one. And I imagine Vegas would probably be the other. I know some different names have been played, but it only makes sense. I mean, the league lost a lot of money in the bubble season. I have to give Adam Silver, you know, his kudos for having the safest possible situation for athletes. And I say that because when you look at other sports, I thought MLB was an absolute nightmare. You know, baseball was terrible. I thought their system was horrible. Sure. You know, right. I thought the NHL did a good system when they went to Canada. And then their protocols and stuff like that, it works. I think the NCAA is awful. I don't want to go down that road. But so I have to say that Adam Silver is doing a good job. So moving forward, you know, having the expansion as a possibility. Now, is that going to be long term? Is that going to dilute how it's going to work? Because I remember, I mean, doing 2 teams at once, I don't even know how that's going to work. You know what I mean? But, you know, I understand it from a business standpoint. And, you know, I think they'll work it
out. For me, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think it'll be great. I look at it from, and I'm not one of those guys, but I look at it from like, you got more jobs for black, you know what I mean, for black guys. You got more opportunities. We're going to have opportunities, you know, to, you know, add another, you know, 34 players in the league. You know, most teams are keeping 17 with the 2-way players. You got an opportunity to do that. maybe some, depending on what city. Seattle's a great sports town. Obviously, Seattle will be great. Vegas, this jury's still out. I mean, we didn't get a chance to see how the Las Vegas Raiders would do with fans and everything, and see if the people would come out and really support with so many things going on in Vegas. So that's actually one possibility. You never know. You see Toronto's playing in Tampa, so they're getting a good feel, and Tampa now to see if the NBA team would like it down there. But I love it. I just look at it as 34 new jobs, for a league that's basically African-American. So you get that situation. And I think it'd be great for the league. The league's in a good spot, so I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think obviously the cities are important. You don't want to put them in dead cities and where there's just no fan support at all. But if you go into Seattle, maybe a Vegas, like I said, they're trying to Tampa Bay, maybe a Louisville that don't have a sports team. That's kind of a big city. They got a great arena down there. That's an NBA arena that the team is playing in. So you can think about some places like that to have another team.
So do you move teams, or you pretty much just build up a team?
No, you start from scratch. Yeah, you start from scratch. You start from scratch. I think that it's good enough. I think it's enough basketball talent. You guys know this. It's enough basketball talent out here that we can get 34 other good pros out here that can play.
Yeah, but when you talk about the small market teams, and that's been an issue for the most part in the talk. So that's what I said. So do you leave those teams and you just add, or do you move those teams and just relocate them? So that's what basically what I'm asking.
You go to a place like Kentucky, I don't think they're small. I think that the arena that the Louisville play in is 20,000, and then Kentucky, which is an hour away, playing in front of 23,000. So those are big venues that that sell out. Obviously, it's college, but they sell out. So they can get behind they'll get behind an NBA team.
Well, speaking about the Magic, what I'm saying, they 5-2. You know what I'm saying? Coach is doing a great job. Steve Clifford, he's doing a great job down. And it's one thing about that team. He has some teams. I mean, they play well, but they're just missing something that they can never, I guess, just turn the corner for the most part. They have the big man Vucevic. He's down there. He's killing. He's a walking double-double. They still got Aaron Gordon down there, and then they got Evan Fournier. As a guard down there, he's pretty exciting player to watch. He can put the ball in the hole as well. What are the Magic missing, and where do you see them going as far as playoff bound? Because I mean, they were in the bubble, they played, but for them to turn the corner, what do you think they need to do?
They kind of going through what the Bulls going through right now. You just talk about Vucevic. Obviously, he's an all-star, walking double-double, great player. They're going to have to do it from within, and they're doing a good job of developing their talent. Eric Gordon, he was hurt, obviously, in the bubble, so we didn't get a chance to see him play in the playoffs. But they got some pieces. They're not far away. We know they are a playoff team. I do believe they make the playoffs again, still right around that same spot, that 7th to 8th spot. But they got the same problem. Can they get a big-time free agent to go maybe play down there? And I'm not necessarily saying it has to be an A-list free agent, maybe a B-list guy. To go down there and join those guys and kind of get them over the hump, where they turn into, a 41, 42 win team to maybe a 50-win team. But they got the pieces in place. Steve Clifford's done a terrific job of keeping them competitive. And, I want to give big shouts out to Markelle Fultz, a guy who career could have went a different direction. And to see him sign that extension really made me feel good. To see him battle back and go through a little mental problem, and then to get back on that court, and then to get rewarded with a lengthy contract was really exciting to see. But they got some pieces in play. They're not far away. I just don't think free agents don't think about going to Orlando. I don't know. Nobody want to hang out in Disney World, man.
Well, let me echo what you were saying about Markelle Fultz. I'm here in the DMV. And he's the math of product. Everybody here, is rooting for him. And he really had a tough time that first year. I still don't even understand everything that happened with his shot and when they was doing everything in Philly and everything like that. But he's been doing great, and everybody's happy to see how well he's doing. He's another one where you get certain situations where you're just rooting for the player to do well. No, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily about the team doing well or if they make the playoffs. And he's one of those situations where you know, like you said, really happy to see him get his extension and, you know, playing hard and, you know, producing and everything like that. He looks like he's out there having fun. So I'm rooting for him.
You got a piece that you know you could build around him. And now when you look at Markelle Fultz, I mean, you got to realize the fact that it's a lot of teams that did not feel like this kid could even be an NBA basketball player. So you got to give a lot of credit to, you know, Orlando management for taking the time out and just being patient with him. And look what he's doing. I mean, he's one of the up-and-coming top-tier point guards, and he's killing it this season. Mm-hmm. And, man, we got to give a lot of credit to his hard work and just, man, being that young, going through that type of criticism. Man, I applaud to him and the people he had around his circle that kept him believing, because, man, that's a great story.
Yes.
Now, what do you guys think the Magic need in order to move up from that hamster wheel 7 through 10 seed? Because every year they're the 8 seed or 7 seed and they go 5 or get swept, or sometimes they go 6 games versus a upper seed, and that's the season. What do y'all think they need? I'll start with TJ with this. What do you think they need to add on their team to get over that hump and be a somewhat of a contender?
I'm not too familiar with Orlando, man. I know, you know, one of the main pieces was my Texas guy, Obama, who they had a lot of, you know, high hopes for. Hasn't really panned out to be that defensive force like a Tyson Chandler, like these athletic bigs of DeAndre Jordans. I mean, right now, I think that was a draft pick that just haven't panned out in their favor yet.
I mean, they still got Aaron Gordon too, so it's like, when is he gonna really step up and accept that challenge too, to be that, you know, to be that dominant, you know what I'm saying? I guess, you know, the power forward position in itself. But I think a lot is riding on him, and like maybe, you know, that's
what is he though? Like what position? Like what's the
right? So you thinking he probably 3-4 force, whatever. You feel he might have an advantage, but then he don't have the advantage. So it's sort of like I said, that's that iffy position for that team to turn a corner for me that I see. But I mean, they figure it out. They got to put it together.
Yeah, I think they right there. To actually try to pinpoint and say what guy they need. I think they do need another guy. I don't think they need a superstar, but they may need to leverage a little. They may need to leverage a little of that future. And what I mean by that, maybe not necessarily giving up pieces on their team, but maybe a draft pick or two down the line. They don't need to draft. They're a young team already. You don't need to draft. Maybe give up, you know, one of your first round picks of the next couple of years and see if you can get a young star in there that can help you out and get you over that hump. Like you said, they kind of got to position this type team so you don't know which spot that they really needed, but they need another guy that can get them over the hump. That's going to get them from, like I said, from that 40 wins to 50, and maybe just leverage your future a little bit. You got some pieces in play. You got an all-star center, and take your chances now. And see if you can be competitive. The East is open, and you can make that jump. So you just got to look around. You know, I mean, this is a good time to look around and see what's that guy that can kind of get you over that hump.
Mm-hmm. Right. I like that. I like what you said about that. All right, moving from the Magic, we got the Charlotte Hornets, little mellow ball. You know what I'm saying? Big time. Talk about the Ball family and what it is. Big baller brand, whatever it may be. But they down in Charlotte. They 2-5 right now. You had Terry Rozier, you know, had a great season last year. And now, you know what I'm saying, coming into this year, you got, you know, LaMelo Ball, you know what I'm saying, is getting all the hype and everything. For them, is it just sort of, you know, we're gonna put a product out there, try to just develop LaMelo Ball, make sure he shines, he get the Rookie of the Year, or are they really trying to do something down there?
I think it's time for them to just develop their young players. And, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily about making the playoffs this year with them. You want LaMelo to come in and play and, you know, get his feet wet in the league. You know, you see he can be a great passer. Of course, he needs to keep working on his shot, working on different things. But I think he can be a good player. But, you know, with some of these teams that we're talking about, it's really about just developing younger players. And it depends on if they're going to have patience or not. Because, you know, this is a league that a lot of times, they give up on people too early. But it's going to be interesting to see how the direction they go. If you're, like I said, if you're going to rebuild. If you're going to go young, go young. That's what I think with stuff. And then if you're going to do it, go all the way with it and let your young players develop it so you can get a real good look at them and see what they can actually do so you can properly evaluate them. But, and I hope that's what they do, because I think they have some pieces that can be okay.
TJ, I mean, playing a point guard position in itself, LaMelo Ball coming in, what do you think the biggest thing for him in that organization-wise, say at playing that position to help him grow and be successful there?
I mean, you got his size. If you look at his size as a point guard, if you look at his passing ability, he can think the play ahead. I think as he get familiar with the speed of the game, and also just the physicality. I think when you look at the Charlotte Hornets, for me, they're exciting. They play hard. They're gonna make some mistakes. They just got a lot of undersized type tweener players. I think if they just had another big at the power forward center spot to give them some type of scoring, I think that would kind of change their record. But I agree with Etan. I think just develop this young talent and see which of these kids that you can keep. If you look at, Graham that they have, he's pretty much taking a spot of Malik Monk, a guy who hasn't been the guy that followed the script and, keeping himself out of harm's way. Now that he's not playing. So I think you're going to see some of these guys compete and just see which ones you can keep and which kids you got to move into a different direction.
Yeah, they got a bunch of young talent. I agree with both of you guys. They got some good pieces on the team. You guys are trying to shy away from it, but let's be honest. I'm not giving Gordon Hayward $120 million and saying I'm going to build around Gordon Hayward. No offense, you know what I mean? But I'm just not going to give him that type of money and say I'm going to build around him. And Gordon's a very good player, but he's not a guy I want to build around. If I was them, I'd get a ball. I know they signed Terry Rozier to a 3-year deal, to a big contract, but it goes back to what we talked about with the Bulls, Orlando, Cleveland, like some of these teams that are in the bottom of the East, they don't get big time free agents. Ball got the swag. We've seen this. He's going to have the swag. He's got the showtime. You got some athletic guys on the wing that can run with him. PJ Washington, you look at Bridges. You got guys on the team that can run with him. Turn into a fun team. Turn into an up and down, team that's trying to score 120 points and get some enthusiasm there. They don't have it. I mean, I wonder what's the problem. What are you doing bringing him off the bench, playing him 20 minutes? You're developing him in 20 minutes. Turn him loose. People in Charlotte are probably excited. The dad has done a terrific job of building their brand, their name. So people know who he is. They're not like, who did you draft? People really wanted him. If you watch the draft, it was a lot of teams that wanted him because of that type of swag and energy that he's going to bring to your organization. So you got to turn him loose. That's a spot right there that's not going to get a free agent spot. We've seen that. Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, has not been able to produce a big-time guy to want to come play for him for whatever reason. That's a whole separate conversation. But for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to do that. But I don't know. I think at this time you give Gordon Hayward $120 million and he's going to get you over the hump. I don't know if that's the guy that's going to get you over the hump. A guy that's coming off
that bread. MJ spinning that bread down there.
But he's coming off a major injury. I know. I can't do it, man. Yeah. I can't do it. And it's no knock on Gordon. I know Gordon's a good solid player, but he ain't my max guy I'm finna get into. I'm gonna turn these the young guys loose and see if we can build something within.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. It was a little surprising that signing. I ain't gonna say it was, and I'll never like to, talk bad about cats making their money and stuff like that. But I was a little shocked by that. Didn't quite expect it. So and it especially because he's coming off the injury. We're not saying like Gordon, Hayward can't play.
Oh, he's a very good player,
right? But he's just coming off the injury. Like you don't even know how he's. I don't know.
Did anybody order some Big Baller brand shoes? Did y'all ever get them? Or
hell no.
It's just a question. We can move on.
No.
Listen, we're gonna talk about these Atlanta Hawks. Coach Pierce down there doing a great job. So you got Trae Young down there. And what are they going to do? It's been a lot of chirping about this season. Everybody excited down there, thinking they could do some things. They got the addition of Rondo, experienced veteran point guard that can help Trae. So what you think Atlanta got in store for them, and how you think they season going to go?
I like Trae. I think Trae is, be a real special player. I was surprised that the Lakers didn't bring back Rondo, to be honest with you, especially after, watching the last playoffs. Everything changed when he, was healthy and when the way that he was running the team. So I was kind of puzzled. But I was puzzled by a lot. We'll get to the Lakers later. But no, I think Atlanta could be good. I like what they're doing. I saw them a couple games. But Trae Young could be special. Like, I like him. So we'll see how it all comes together with the whole team. But I can say enough things about Trae Young.
So you got Trae, you got John Collins down there too. Then you still got the young boy that they got down there. Cameron Reddish.
Got Reddish, got Herder, all those guys.
Atlanta's loaded, man. They did a terrific job. I give them an A+ in the offseason. The Gallinari signing was huge. Rondo signing was huge to add a couple of veteran guys on the team. With those young pieces, what you got, and obviously you're building around. Trae Young is an all-star in this league. He'll be an all-star for a long time. He's one of the top, 15 point guards that we got in this league. So he's definitely that they will be a playoff team. I think they'll be a solid playoff team. They got to a good start. They took a couple steps back last couple games, if I'm not mistaken. I've watched them several times, but I like what they got. Hopefully they're a team that does not fall victim to that fan thing, not having fans, because they could probably be really good, a really good home team, and really make a really good push. But I like Atlanta. I think they're a solid playoff team. I think they're in the top 6 teams in the Eastern Conference. They did a terrific job. They had a bunch of cap space, and they did a terrific job of signing guys to put around Trae Young. So look for them. And you got to remember, they still got Clint Capella, who's been a ton of meaningful games, who's still young in the center spot. We don't want to forget about Clint. So they got some pieces down there with John Collins. I do got to throw a little hit, Etan. You want to talk about guys. John Collins turned down $90 million. I don't know what he thought he's going. What he waiting on. I don't know what he's going to get, but they got some pieces down there. That's a whole other conversation. But
let's touch on it since you brought it up. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't understand what the rationale is when thinking, that's just a gamble. That's a gamble that for me personally, I ain't taking that gamble. You don't know what can happen the next season. Right. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not taking it for that amount. And I know the numbers are a lot bigger than when we played, just because the league has grown since then. But when I see guys turning down $90 million, I'd be like, you turn that down?
I just throw that out there because you got to think you really, really good. And so I'm looking for them to do big things. But I like Atlanta. I mean, they actually, if you guys haven't got a chance to see them, check them out 2-3 games in a row. You're gonna start to see what I'm talking about. They got a ton of talent, and they got a superstar. I'm not gonna lie. Trae Young is big time.
I agree.
But see, that's the crazy. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nah, when y'all talk about turning down money, but of course you're gonna hear what they're gonna say. I was betting on myself. I knew I'm betting on myself. So hey, if it work out, they're gonna say it. So hey,
more power to you though, man. My nerves would be too bad to turn that down.
If you look at the way he came back this season, him turning down that $90 million, I can see it, because they're gonna have to pay him way more than that 90, because that dude is a dominant force, and he's one of the main reasons that their record is where it is today. And I think that's a hell of a piece to have with a Trae Young. Obviously, like you said, they added the right veterans, and what they lacked last year was just toughness. As you see this year, early in the season, they already getting into it with teams, right? They already kind of just trying to let guys know that we're here. We're not this team that y'all expect us to be. And like you said, they are going to be one of the major players midway in that pack of making the playoffs there in the East. And they future is really good with the young talent that they got and the veterans that they got that don't, want to take their minute. And I think that's an important thing when you do have the right mix of veterans with young talent.
So before we move on to the next team, I want to get everybody's quick reaction. Do you sign John Collins to the max he's looking for, or do you let him go or seek a trade for him? And go ahead, TJ.
No, I'm not saying he's a max player, but I mean, I think he's definitely going to get paid a nice chunk of change. And I think what that may be, I think his best bet is, is staying in the same team that you've been with to get the maximum money. So I think Atlanta's in a good position.
Yeah, it also depends on how well they do. If the team is successful, they make it to the playoffs. Then he played it right. It would just be tough for me to take that gamble, but more power to him. You know what I mean? It'll work out. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I think you definitely got to look to sign him. You're trying to build something, and you don't want to peak and then we'll start losing pieces right away, and just have a one hit wonder. So, I think you do look to sign him. Is he worth the max money? I mean, I don't think he's a max guy. But I'm pretty sure you guys are on the same as me. It's not a lot of max guys in the league, but a lot of guys do get the max. But I think it's going to be a situation where if they have success and they're able to get in the playoffs and make a little noise in the playoffs, he'll be more willing to come back and understand that he's going to have to share the wealth a little bit to get it done. Not much, but I think he'll be able to get over that 90, a little bit over that 90, because he is also a good start, like TJ said. He's playing really good right now.
If you believe you're going to be a 10-year NBA player, you will make over $100 million easy, whether you're a superstar, a role player, or the 10th man on the bench.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Now, it's just different. League is different.
It's kind of different turning down that kind of money when at the age they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But that's now. So, but I'm still with Etan. It's hard when that 90 looking at you in the face. It's hard.
Yeah,
I'm taking.
I mean, just because you don't know, you know what I mean? Like you have a like
I think less than that.
So I'm saying you have a situation like Boogie Cousins or what happened, or like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So different situations happen, injuries happen.
That's the perfect example. That's a great example right there.
Man, all right, moving on. Yeah. Now we got to talk about, that team up in the district, the Washington Wizards over there. Etan, I know you seen everything firsthand over there. You're hearing all the noise in the city. What's going on over there? What they gonna do now? I know y'all. You got Bill, big money Bill over there. He always doing this thing.
So right now, yeah.
Hold up, y'all 2-5 right now. Y'all 2-5 right now. But go ahead.
I don't know. Bill's gonna be Bill. So Bill is straight. They're just, yeah. They had a good win against Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Had a good win against Brooklyn. I was watching that game. They played well. Right now is, Westbrook, they're adjusting to Westbrook. And Westbrook is playing well. He's playing like Westbrook. But now it's just, the conversation is just, they're still trying to get over losing John Wall. And, I mean, they're playing well. It just depends on what, because, it's interesting when you watch the games, they look for somebody to blame if stuff don't go right. So for a while, they're trying to blame Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant's been playing solid. And I'm always take up for the big men, as y'all know. But Thomas Bryant's been playing solid. But you know what I mean? He's been doing what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean? They always got to point the finger at the big man, like it's the big man's fault. Thomas Bryant's in there to rebound, block shots, play physical, score when he get the ball, and that's what he do. But I think that with the Wizards, they should be a playoff team, and they're going to play hard, but they're also going to have situations and times where it's not going to be quite – it's going to be looking like they're still trying to get to know each other. And you'll just see where playing with Westbrook, you got to be in rhythm with him. And sometimes what you've seen sometimes, like when he goes fast, you have to go fast. You know what I mean? When he's backing it up, you got to be able, and it's that calculation that sometimes you see them off sometimes. But I think they're going to go through that, and they're excited to watch. They're going to play well, but it's just interesting because it's a lot different, and people are still scratching their heads about the John Wall thing. And that's just going to be there for a while. Because people were ready to see John Wall come back. We were waiting for 2-3 years. You know what I mean? Everybody here in DC was waiting for 2-3 years while he was hurt. And so before you got to see the backcourt of him and Bradley Beal, they traded him. So that's going to just be the talk for a while. But, you know, winning cures everything.
Now, Etan, what was the situation with John Wall in DC? A lot of people have a lot of great things to say about him. He did a lot for the community. And like you mentioned, everyone wanted to see him with Beal and try to see what they can do with that group again. What are people saying in the city? Because it seems like that tandem never got to where it could have gone, but at the same time, they never had that second or third chance with that deal. What are people saying?
I mean, like I said, people were ready to see him get back on the court, and he was loved here in DC. Like cats loved him. Cats, you know, loved how hard he played. You know, everything. They just wanted to see him back on the court, and it was tough. It was a tough situation because I didn't think that they were going to trade him. I don't think anybody really thought here in DC that they were going to trade him, even when he said he wanted to be traded. You know, sometimes guys are mad. They hear their names kind of mentioned in trade talks, and they be like, all right, then you can just trade me. And they be like, all right, you'll be all right. I think that's what everybody kind of thought here in DC. And then, you know, when the Wizards were like, okay, we're not going to trade him. But we've seen that happen before where they put out the statement, we're not going to trade you, and then they trade you like shortly after. So it was just a weird situation, to be honest with you, but you have to move on. That's all it is. That's the business. And so people are embracing Russell Westbrook, how he plays and everything like that. They just want to see, you know, they want to see wins, but it's going to take a little while, I think. I think you're going to see some good games and some not so good games.
I think that's a fair assessment if you watch them. I think with Westbrook getting traded there late and obviously not really having a real training camp and guys getting a chance to be around each other and hoop and play in the summertime, and you guys know how it is. You kind of build, you know, try to, you know, work together and figure it out. They should be a playoff team. I'm a huge Westbrook fan, so I'm a little biased. And when I comment and talk about Westbrook, I believe that he's an alpha male. I believe he can get you to the playoffs. Now, whether or not they make any noise in the playoffs, I don't know if that roster is good enough to do that. But you got to look at the OKC situation. I mean, he got to the playoffs without Kevin Durant, without Paul George. You know, he got there on his own. So he's capable of carrying a team. And you got another superstar on the side of you in Bradley Beal. I think they got to figure it out, Bradley and Westbrook, because I watched that same game in Brooklyn that you're talking about, and I just felt like it was good, but it was a little off, like who's going to go, who's not going to go when it was late in the game. So they got to figure that out and build that mutual respect around each other. But to me, when you put together two guys like that, you're supposed to – it got to be playoffs. I mean, Westbrook arguably is a top 15 player in the league, depending on where you want to rate him. Bradley Beal could be considered a top 20 player in the league. You're supposed to win games. And I do think it's going to take them a while, but I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know how much noise they can make, but I'm thinking a playoff team. It's unfortunate that, you know, John Wall didn't get an opportunity to finish his career there, but we've seen this with a lot of guys that it just don't work. And guys get to talking. It's a different league now. Guys get to talking too much and not let their agents talk, and they start talking themselves, and you kind of force these situations. So, yeah, I think Westbrook is still in his prime. He's still got like 3 years left at big money. So, I mean, right. you want to continue and maybe add a piece or two, you know, maybe around them, somebody, you know, a veteran guy that can help them out too as well. But I think they're a playoff team. I think but I do agree with you, Etan. It's going to look shaky for about the first 20 games before they start to pick it up. But I'm a big Westbrook fan, so I'm speaking from a biased standpoint in that situation.
Well, as we speak, I know, you know, I appreciate y'all, you know, joining me right now. But the Wizards are playing right now, and Beal is at 57 points right now, I guess in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go. So he could put the ball in the hole. And he's deserving of his contract too.
It take one guy to trigger it. One guy triggered the scoring. It's like they deny everybody. Steph Curry gets 62. Now you're finna see it now.
Right. All right, we lead the district. Now we go across the border to them Raptors. They 1-5 right now. You know, a couple years removed from being a champion. What they got going on over there, dude? Is it done for them or what they doing? They struggling.
They struggling.
Hey, stick the fork in a pole. Stick
Yeah,
the
they
fork
struggling.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. This is crazy. The Raptors. This is that thing where you see why they wanted to do everything for Kawhi Leonard, and get him back on that team. We saw Pascal Siakam have unbelievable year. Worked really hard, develop his game. You know what I mean? I think he's a good worker, a hard worker, but he's not a 25-point night guy. He's not he's probably not a consistent all-star in his league. He's probably where he's at right now, 16, 17, 7 rebounds, 7, 8 rebounds. And I think they thought that he was going to be that guy. But it's easy to be that other guy when you got all the attention on Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? So, and now when you get put in that light, that ain't for everybody. Everybody can't handle that. And Toronto, let's be honest, they made a huge mistake. When you don't sign back Serge Ibaka and you don't bring back Marc Gasol, this is what happens. Y'all got to understand, that team had those 2 guys last year on it. They don't bring neither one of those guys back. Fred obviously deserved the contract that he got. He's been terrific there. Kyle Lowry's probably towards the end of his career. We don't know how many more years he's got left in him. They're on the down end. They had a good run. Bumped into the Cleveland Cavaliers for a couple years, was able to get over that hump once LeBron left, and Kawhi was able to get you over the hump and get you a chip. But it's time to retool there. They're gonna have to redo it there and start looking at that roster again. With Pascal Siakam and probably Fred VanVleet being the 2 guys that you keep, but you're gonna have to start putting some other pieces around them. I think it's over with for them. And they got the hardest team too. I feel bad for them. I think obviously they can't be at home. They had to move to Tampa and change their whole surroundings and all that too. So that could play a part too.
Hey, so TJ, so you see VanVleet, he got paid, but you still got Kyle Lowry. Is it almost a changing of the guards? And how is that, for guards, another guard get paid the money, you're a veteran guard, you're still there, and now you got to sort of turn over the keys a little bit. Do you think that's about to happen now, or how do you feel about him running that team?
I think so. I've been part of that when you got 2 guards making a bunch of money. You guys, somebody wants to be a starter. Obviously, if Kyle Lowry is healthy, Van is going to still have to come off the bench and play that role. Obviously, I think, with losing all your veteran players, not locking Kyle Lowry up for your entire future, it's pretty much, I'm like Torn. I think it's writing on the wall. It just could be a trade situation for him at some point, or when he finished the season, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's free to move around. Obviously, the young talent has to develop. They haven't been able to take that extra push, like Torn said, of being a consistent player. But I think you also give them that opportunity now. But if I'm a Kyle Lowry, I think Kyle Lowry would be a better fit for the Clippers. I think the Clippers need to win a championship if they can't get there without the team that they have now.
That's a good point. I think he would be nice on the Clippers.
He's in the last year of his deal.
The Lakers, because Dennis turned that money down. So he probably understand the writings on the wall where they're not going to be playing for championships anymore. So I can see that move happening. But Toronto's going to have to blow it up. I know the season's still early, but I'm looking at the teams in the East, the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, some of these teams that are getting a lot better. And Toronto's kind of taking that step back. And when you don't sign your veteran guys back, Serge and Marc Gasol, and it's not like they signed for huge money in the market. That means that TJ, like you said, they want to start to see some of that young talent they got behind those guys play. So they understand it's going to be a rebuilding stage for the Raptors. So I don't have the Raptors doing much this year. I know those guys got a lot of pride because they've had a lot of success over last couple of years, but I don't have them doing much. And maybe not. I don't even have them making the playoffs. They're not on my playoffs, my top 8 in the Eastern Conference.
Now, do y'all think part of their struggles are because they don't have that home field advantage anymore? Because getting in Toronto, you got to go through customs. A lot of people like to enjoy Toronto a little bit more than other cities. Do you think that's part of the reason why that they are getting off to a slow start? Because Tampa is just Tampa. And with the Rona going on, it's just a regular city. Go ahead, Twan. Start with you. Do you think it's just a coincidence that they're 1-5 because they're in a regular city, or do you think it's the actual team building?
Well, they got great home court advantage. I mean, so you definitely that's a great place to play. We all played there. It's a great city, low key, one of the top cities in the NBA. So it could play a big part. And that Tampa is not a basketball city, obviously, and guys had to move their families. You don't know how happy they were about that. The adjustments that they had to make as a team and organization could play a part in that. So you got to put all that in perspective, and you don't want to give them built-in excuses. But that's tough on anybody. That's tough on any player to have to go through that and make those type of adjustments. And I just think when you look at their talent and look where they're at on the court, I just think they just took a couple steps back. You know, I just think those guys were very valuable for their team. They were veteran guys that knew how to win. When you remove them from the equation, and then Pascal Siakam, who's a very, very good player, is not an A-list superstar. You know, you're gonna have some drawback where you're not going to be as good as you thought you were. So it may be time for him to blow it up a little bit. I would be, like TJ said, I wouldn't be surprised you get halfway through the season and Kyle Lowry's looking to move on somewhere. You get off that, you know, his last year's deal, you get to move him somewhere and you start to rebuild a little bit.
I can't give him the out. I don't think they've been doing no better if they was in Toronto. To be honest with you. I don't.
Yeah,
I just say that.
The roster's different now. Yeah, the roster's different. I agree with you. Yeah, the roster's different.
All right, moving on. We going to our neck of the woods, TJ. We're gonna deal with them Pacers. They 5-2. They 5-2. You got Oladipo over there. People don't know what he's gonna do. You got Malcolm Brogdon. He's back. You know, he's doing his thing. And also you got Sabonis that's been playing big for him. Playoff team, do they sustain this record right now? What y'all see?
Of course, they're a playoff team. They have the talent. They have the pieces. I think it's not about them getting to the playoffs. I think it's about, you know, will these guys perform at a high level when they get to the playoffs and get to the next level? When you look at the talent, I think they're at that age where, you know, they should be able to get over the hump into that next stage of possibly the Eastern Conference Finals. Can they achieve that? You know, it's still up in the air. But, you know, it's not a doubt in my mind that they are a playoff team. They got good pieces. I think will they toughness and will they be able to get it done in the playoffs?
But it's crazy. I mean, they're 5-2, and then, you know, they fired Nate McMillan as well. You know what I'm saying? That was a big reason. You know, you talk about their toughness the past few years. They wasn't able to turn the corner with him. But right now, they got a great start. They got a new coach and everything like that. Etan, Sabonis. I mean, not your traditional big, but he's out there. He's handling the ball more, being a playmaker in himself. How do you feel about that and what you see for him going forward?
I like him. I mean, he's been solid since he got into the league. So I don't have anything bad to say about him at all. I was impressed with him in college. I was a bit impressed with him all around. It was interesting to me that they fired Nate McMillan, though. I didn't quite understand that one. I thought that they built their identity. I don't know if some of the players were, you know, that sometimes certain fires I don't quite understand. But I'd be interested to see, because you heard some of the rumblings about Oladipo and if he wanted to stay there, if he wanted to go. And that's kind of something that, because I think he's a big-time player. I like Oladipo. And, you know, I'd be interested to see their chemistry long-term or what happens with him. But, yeah, as a whole, you know, I think they're a solid program.
Yeah, the Pacers are definitely a solid 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're very, very good. They're loaded. A guy you guys didn't talk about who was Mr. Bubble was T.J. Warren. Let's not forget about him. T.J. Warren's on that team. I think the difference from them making it and getting over the hump is Victor Oladipo. And it's not a knock on him. Can he get back and be the old Victor Oladipo that he was before this injury? To me, he's not the same player right now. And if he can get back to the level where he was playing at an all-star level, the sky's the limit how far they can go. They are loaded. They got 2 legitimate bigs. Miles Turner and Sabonis are very good in the inside defensively and offensively. Malcolm Brogdon, we know how good he is at the point guard spot. So they've got some pieces there. They're a very talented group. I feel so bad for Nate McMillan because he hasn't had the opportunity to play with a healthy playoff team. He's had very good seasons, but he had the injury bug. And the injury bug, every year he's coaching the playoffs. And a lot of people, and that gets overlooked. And it's kind of one of those situations that you feel, especially for black coaches, I feel bad for. It's kind of like Dwayne Casey. He didn't get an opportunity to finish that in Toronto, what he started. You switch coaches and bring his assistant on and let him get the fruits of the labor. And so that's the same situation. It's unfortunate for Nate McMillan, but he did a terrific job there. Like you touched on, Etan, of building that foundation already there. They already know how to win. And then they can stay healthy. They can make a deep run in the playoffs. They're loaded to me, especially if T.J. Warren plays the way he played in the bubble, and you get Victor Oladipo back to, turn their corner. They could be really, really tough.
Now, Twan, you mentioned something about black coaches. Why is it that black coaches seem like they get the short end of the stick? You mentioned Dwayne Casey in Toronto. You mentioned Nate. There's countless other examples. People can bring up Alvin Gentry in New Orleans. Why is it like that in the league? Is it a race issue, or is it something like the owners want to go a different direction? What's the reason for that?
It's unfortunate. We're starting to see a pattern. It's something that probably needs to be brought to the forefront. Just like we attack social justice, and you had guys standing up for social justice and making the stands, we're going to have to start fighting for our coaches like that as well. It's starting to become that deep. When you think about Alvin Gentry, when you think about even Doc Rivers, and Doc is a 50-50 situation because he's been there for a while and hasn't got over the hump. But that's the first year they put that team together. So you got to think about that. And then the next day he gets a huge deal with Philly. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on with that, why the leash is so short. When we do get positions, and you look at say Ty Lue's situation, I think me and Pose was talking about this the other day. You don't get a chance to pick your own staff. They got to pick your staff for you. And, all the things that they make you do just to become a head coach. It's unfortunate. I feel bad for a lot of coaches in this league that have to go through that. You look at JB Bickerstaff, he gets a 2-year deal. Who gets a 2-year deal as a coach? Come on, man. He gets a 2-year deal in the rebuilding situation. 2 years. So, these are the type of situations that we're put in. I think we need to bring more attention to it as players. I don't necessarily know if the players are internally not fighting for these coaches. But we got to do something as a league and start bringing it and highlighting that a little bit better.
Those are some good points. When I asked a lot of coaches,
I like how you came in there. Those are some good points.
No, those are some good points, and I think it is something that needs to be examined a little bit more because at the time I'm trying to see how many black coaches there are now. Where are we at? 7? Is it 7 out of 30?
Yeah, we definitely low.
Yeah, 7 out of 30. That's not a lot of people. And you look at the number of black assistant coaches. I mean, since y'all brought this up, we can talk about it. So every team has a black assistant coach. Every team, right? But then when you look at the head coach hire, it's like they keep recycling the same group of white coaches, and they just jump right over the assistant coaches that are there. And it's just, that's always puzzled me, I mean, and then you look at the black coach that is there, and he'll be the one who is like the players coach, the one who is dealing more directly with the players when you talk to different teams. But then with that head coaching position, there's just a hesitancy. And, that has to be addressed. Now, one of the things that I remember when Byron Scott made the point that players are going to have to start advocating, or stars are going to have to start advocating for players the way that Kobe advocated for him. And that's an interesting point. Like, is that the only way that that's going to change? And I want to ask y'all, what do y'all think? Is that the only way that's going to change for a player to really advocate for the black coach that he wants?
I mean, I just feel like, the players, they make all the money for the most part. And that's almost just like, here you go. We give you this money. That's all you can do for the most part. And at the end of the day, they're going to hire who they want to hire. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's unfortunate you could, you know what I'm saying, you could do all the right things, but at the end of the day, if, like you said, you put in your job application, if they don't like you, they ain't going to hire you, or they just don't think you fit for the job, so they just move elsewhere. But like you said, for the league to be predominantly black players in there, you know what I'm saying, you would think it would be at least a balance at the end of the day, and you'll have an opportunity to grow some new talent, some new coaches and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things. They hire who they want to.
Yeah, but I do see a situation like Brooklyn. They hired Steve Nash because KD wanted Steve Nash. That was why they hired him. So I've seen where it happens. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
So to Brian Scott's point, you know, if you have the star player to advocate for you, that's the only way that it. So I guess what he was saying was Kobe advocated for him, and they weren't trying to hire him, and he's Byron Scott. You know what I mean? You know, Laker legend. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know.
All right, moving on. We're gonna go down to that South Beach, Twine. You know what I'm saying? Our second home and stuff like that too. You got Miami Heat down there. They 3-3 right now. You know, Bam just signed his big contract down there. You had Tyler Hero, you know, shooting the lights out in the bubble. They had a nice little finals run. What do you see left for that Miami Heat team to do outside of winning it? And can they win it? Can they repeat it? And also, you know, you still got Jimmy Butler down there too.
You asked me yet?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I had to switch headphones, man. I had to switch headphones, brother. I'm
Yeah.
good. Volume good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. The Heat made a huge mistake, guys. They didn't sign anybody. And to me, I thought, you know, obviously they had a great run in the bubble. They got to the finals. I think they outplayed. I think Jimmy had a miracle run. I think Jimmy Butler is one of the hardest working, no nonsense guys we got in the league. But he's not that offensive guy. I know offensively he's improved every year offensively, but he's not that 25 a night guy. That's not his game. His game is a little bit of everything. And if you look at it, and we saw that in the finals when they needed him, he needed to average 35, 40. And we saw some guys be able to do that. I mean, we know he obviously had the monster triple-double game, but the Miami Heat, I think, took that as Jimmy Butler has arrived as one of those guys. I don't think he's one of those guys. I do believe he's a great, you know, superstar, but when you talk about being a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, you know, Steph Curry, he's not there yet. Not saying he can't get there because he showed flashes of that, but I don't think that's his personality or his game. So to get back to the team as a whole, they got obviously great young pieces to it. They took care of Bam and obviously making sure that he was a centerpiece of what they got going on. But I also don't like the fact that they didn't bring back Jay Crowder. I thought that was huge. How do you don't bring back Jay Crowder, a guy, a hard-nosed guy who can guard from the 2 to the 4, who makes open threes, who played great for you. I think that was the first mistake that showed me that they didn't really watch the film or realize why they was able to make that deep run, because he was one of the main guys to make that run. And Pose is funny, but he kind of reminds me of you. You know what I mean? He's kind of like one of those guys that, you know, gonna do everything. He's gonna make the open shot. He's gonna guard anybody on the floor. You guys were invaluable. He's an invaluable piece to a team. And I don't think the Miami Heat understood how much he meant to them. And they didn't add anything. And now you're looking at him now, and I don't know if Pat thought maybe he was going to get Giannis. You know, there was a lot of talk that maybe he can get a Giannis. I don't know if they're going to go after Harden to add to this team. Like, I love Andre Iguodala, but it's over. You know what I mean? It's over for Andre Iguodala. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I think that he was struggling. Now, they know how to win games, so they'll be in the mix. They're definitely a 4 or 5 seed in the playoffs. They're obviously going to be a tough out because of the talent and experience. And you know, we love Spo. Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. He'll have them prepared to play. But they made a mistake. They didn't do what they had to do in the market by letting Jay Crowder go, and they didn't add a piece. They didn't add the piece that was needed. You go get another guard that you didn't necessarily need, and I like Avery Bradley, but I don't know how much you need him because now you stop the development of Kendrick Nunn. You're cutting the Tyler Hero minutes. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I just don't know what direction they're going right now. The Miami Heat are going. So I think they took a step back. I think that they're not in that top 4 elite group no more in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, that's tough. I mean, I got to say, I like Jimmy Buckets proved a lot to me last year in that playoffs. And the way that he played, you know, I thought he answered a lot of critics. I think that a lot of times, you know, the word on Jimmy Butler was that he was almost a cancer to a team prior to that. They blamed him for a lot of things going wrong in other places. You know how they are when you get a little bit of information and then they roll with it and they blow it out of proportion. And so then the story becomes better and better. And, you know, then they just had him sounding like he was just the worst teammate on earth. So I thought that he answered a lot of those things last year. I thought he carried them the way that first of all, nobody had them beating Milwaukee. Nobody had them beating Milwaukee. You know what I mean?
Thought it'd be tough. Thought it'd be tough. That's you right.
Did nobody besides the people in that locker room have them beating Milwaukee last year in that first round?
I agree.
And the way that they kept, you know, playing well, then they went to, you know, beat Indiana next, and I was really impressed. Even when they got to the finals with the Lakers, a lot of people thought, oh, this is going to be a blowout. You know what I mean? And then when a few of their guys got hurt, they were like, oh, this ain't even going to be close. You look up at the game, you're like, wait, Miami up by 2? 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? Like and then they end up. So I was impressed by Jimmy Butler. So I got to get him a little bit higher ranking than or assessment than what you gave him, Twan. But I do agree with you that losing Jay Crowder was crucial. They had to pay the big fella, Bam. So I'm glad they did that. But I do think it's tough because when you get to the finals, you don't know if you want to do either add more or do you kind of run it back. And I think that's kind of where they had a lot of success last year with that group, even though I do think they should have, you know, re-signed Jay Crowder. But I don't know if they necessarily needed to make a whole lot of moves or a whole lot of additions or a whole lot of subtractions. I'll say that. So making a subtraction of Jay Crowder, that's going to come back to bite them. But, you know, as far as shooters, they got shooters. You know what I mean? I don't really know what they really needed to add. What do you think they need differently? That would be my question.
I mean, so with that, I agree with Twan. You talk about that guy. Like I said, I respect Jimmy Butler. I love his game. I love what he brings, you know, to the team as well. But when you talk about just that guy, that presence, and just a bucket getter, and you hear to talk about, you know, saying James Harden or whatever it may be, you know, so we don't know if that's gonna happen, whatever. But somebody like him, now, you know, shit, he put the ball in the hole. Well, hold on. Harden, he put the ball in the hole. Jimmy, he could benefit, you know what I'm saying, off that as well. Now, my thing with that, if that does happen, is James Harden, it's going to be a rude awakening going down to that MIA mess with Spo and Rao. So I don't see that working, but I'm just saying.
At all. I don't see that working at all. Not at all. James Harden, I ain't talking about it. He's a bucket getter. You know, he came back. He looked like, you know, the big Rick Ross, you know what I mean? His jersey was all tight, he looked all swollen, went out there and hit 40. You know what I'm saying? So he is a baller, but you can't get away with that in Miami. That's not gonna work.
No, hell no.
Ain't gonna work.
You got weight and body fat every morning.
That ain't gonna work.
Yeah. But you know what though? You know what? It won't.
Y'all do the body fat testing and all that.
Yeah. You guys know James better than me personally, so you guys know if he can handle or not. But the thing about it, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, Miami is one of those spots where it can change your career.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it looks like he's like right now, it kind of looks like he might, even though he's still early in the season, he can go the other way now. You know, James Harden's had an unbelievable last 6 years of his career in Houston, but he can go the other way now. You know, going to the Miami Heat could probably keep that thing going the way, keep it going the uphill like he was going already. To Hall of Fame status. So, you know, so making that move may help a James Harden too. So don't think it could be all bad. But y'all know him more personally than me, so he probably can't put up with what's going to have to deal with in Miami.
You and Pose played in Miami. Y'all played under Pat, and I think the man loves the hoop though. So I think I guess
that's the key. That's the key.
It didn't affect you guys? You guys had a thing that you guys kind of did y'all thing, but it's like when it came to the basketball part, y'all was always dedicated to that, and I think that discipline would probably help him the most right now.
Yeah,
I mean it's different down there. You will be disciplined down there, and it's not just every now and again. It's gonna be discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like every day, even when you in the gym and when you're not, it's gonna require that discipline or whatever. So and I'm not saying like he can't do it, but it will be an eye-opening experience for somebody to go down there and play in that. You know what I'm saying, with the Heat and in that culture down there.
TJ, they get in there 3-4 hours a day. They ain't no off days. They get in there 3-4 hours a day.
Hey, do y'all like that? Do y'all like that big three? Would y'all like James Harden, Jimmy Butler, and Bam?
I love it. I love it.
They get you to the championship. They get you past Brooklyn.
I think so.
Yeah, I think get you past. Yeah, definitely can get you past it. Yeah, I like that.
So, my question is: so do the shooters you talk about? Duncan Robinson, the hero. Do they shoot the same way this year? Not that the scouting report on them a little bit too. Do they still get those same looks, or is it a little tougher? And now with that, that confidence in them not able to make, what I'm saying, does that change the whole look of the Miami Heat?
I think it's the same.
You don't think it's the same?
I don't personally think so. I think when you look at how hard Miami played in the bubble, I don't think that they care what seed that they get. I think they know they're gonna get to the playoffs, and I look at them as a team that's worried about peaking later on in the season. I think right now they probably just still kind of recovering and just knowing that they match up against anybody. I mean, they're not scared of anybody in the East.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be scared of anybody. But I think that their offense, if they're still running the same type of offense, they put them out. They put Duncan on one side, put Hero, you know what I mean, and Jimmy Buckets drives, and he's killing them with that mid-range, or he kicks it out. I mean, it was working. So as long as they're hitting shots and they're running that same kind of program, that same kind of offense, I don't see why it should be different. Because if you go to Hero's side or Duncan's side and you don't help off of them, it's going to just be an easy score for Jimmy Buckets, right? But if you do help off of him, he's going to make the right pass. And we saw that. We saw some games in the playoffs, like Jimmy Buckets just stops shooting the ball. He just was distributing because that's what the defense was how they were playing it. So I think if they keep doing it, I don't know. I'm looking for big things from them. I was very impressed with them last year. So
yeah, I mean, it was just a question. But like I said, like you figure Jimmy Butler, he's not a volume 3-point shooter for the most part. So he has a nice mid-range game. He gets to the basket, and those guys are the shooters. So now you stay at home on those shooters. Now it's more to the basket, mid-range twos and stuff like that. And the game now, people really living and dying by that 3-point shot. And it's a volume 3-point shots is going up now. Does that change anything for them? So, I mean, I guess we'll find out what's going on with them if they keep shooting. Right. All right, moving on. We're going out to Philly. The 76ers, new coach Doc Rivers in the building. You got Philly. Ben Simmons. You got Joel Embiid. You got some addition. You still got, Tobias Harris there too. Now they added some shooters there. I don't know if y'all been watching. They've been balling. They 6-1 right now. Does that continue? If you've seen them play, is Embiid dominate the paint like he's supposed to? And what you think about Ben Simmons?
I like them cats. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like Philly. I thought that for we was talking about James Harden. I thought Philly would be a good place for him, to be honest with you. But I think that the way that they're playing, I'm just a big fan of how Philly is playing, and they got some shooters, and it's helping them. Now, the knock is always Ben Simmons on his unwillingness to shoot. And I see how sometimes defenses are playing completely off him. like daring him to shoot. Like, I dare you. And he still don't shoot. So sometimes he's going to have to learn how to at least take the shot. Like, if he, you know what I'm saying? He don't have to be but he's going to have to at least take it sometimes just to keep the defense honest. But
right.
And as good as Embiid is playing and how talented he is, I do wish he would commit himself to getting in the type of shape that he needs to be. And I think that you would see him be a top player in the league. That's really, because it's like he's hooping and then he don't even look like he in shape. You know what I mean? Like just take one season, just really dedicate to getting your body to where it's, you know what I mean, really in shape. And I think he will tear up the league.
Now, Etan, with his history of injuries, do you think it's possible for him to get in that great shape that you speak of?
Well, I think it's definitely possible, but I think it's actually even better for his knees for him not to carry that amount of weight on his knee. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be nothing but all better. He need to get on the vegan diet that Kyrie is doing. You know what I mean? And just get all slim and all cut up. And you just see a whole, I think he would tear up the whole league. I really do.
TJ, what you got going on over there?
Go ahead, PJ.
Philly, they're big, they got size, but I'm still trying to figure out who is the most impactful together between Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. It's that their styles, I think, it conflicts, I think, when you get to the playoffs, right? Because in the playoffs, you won't be able to get out of transition as much with the Ben Simmons, so it kind of changed the form of the game. But I think in the regular season, you're able to go up and down more. Even though they got shooters, I still think that team is based on Ben Simmons, but I'm just not sure the type of impact that he actually has on the court, right? He's putting up numbers. He has a great skill set, but what is one thing on the Sky Report that you don't want Ben Simmons to do where he beats you? And I'm just not sure if he beats you with his passing. I'm not sure if he beats you with his rebounding. I'm not sure he beats you with his defense. Maybe you guys can kind of help me of what is the one thing he does great that impacts any team. But I like it, but just trying to figure out when does he turn that into impact.
Go ahead.
Well, I like Philly. I think Philly's a top 3 team in the East, and I put them top 3 because of Doc Rivers. And I know Doc is not won the big one, but Doc is a great coach, and Doc is the type of coach that can get you over that hump.
He won a big one. Oh, hey, he won a big one.
That's true.
I got you.
That's true. He did win the big one. I'm gonna give him that. You're right. But he's the coach that can he's the coach that can get you over the hump.
I agree.
And that's the coach that probably Embiid and Ben Simmons needed, somebody that they respect, somebody that they know that's going to demand excellence out of them. I do like the additions to their team to add some shooting with Danny Green and Steph Curry, to add those guys. But I like their young pieces. I like Shake Milton. I like Maxey from Kentucky. I think those guys give them some depth on the bench. Dwight Howard has embraced his role as coming off the bench, an energy guy, shot blocker, rebounding. So they got some pieces. It's all about matchups. But what we're going to learn, and Etan, you talked about it better about Ben Simmons' body. When is Embiid going to dedicate himself to his body and doing what he has to do to stay injury-free and to be the alpha male that we know he can be and be the dominant center? He can be the best center in his league. So when they get in the playoffs, everything is going to be in place, hopefully, if they're healthy. And you'll see, TJ, which one you got to rely on. You'll see if it's Embiid or Ben Simmons, because they're going to be in a situation where they got to take that game to that next level. It's no more excuses.
Is it
they've been in the league a long time. We know we used a little process slogan for a while. Okay, it's a process, but now it's time. These guys have been all-stars for a couple years. They played in the playoff games. They played in a ton of meaningful games. It's time to take that next step. If we can say Embiid, talent-wise, can be the best big, when is he going to show that? When is he going to just dominate come playoff time? We know what big Ben Simmons' shortcomings are. If he chooses to not and hurt his team and chooses not to shoot a jump shot and allow teams to get in the playoffs and go up under his pick and roll, that's on him. That's a decision that Philly has to do. That, hey, he's not ready to answer the bell. I'm tired of watching the videos of him making all the three-point shots and all that stuff. I mean, eventually that's got to translate to the game. I played with guys that couldn't shoot. I played with a Bruce Bowen who couldn't throw in the ocean, but made himself a pretty good jump shot shooter. I mean, be realistic. Jason Kidd couldn't throw in the ocean, made himself a pretty good jump shot shooter. It's no excuse for Ben Simmons. So we've made these excuses for these two guys. Now it's time to get over the hump.
Now, how long does this work? Like, you have Embiid and Simmons both have their flaws. Obviously, Ben's are more of the jump shot in the offensive situation. Embiid is more of his health and his conditioning. How far does this experiment work, or how does it go? Is it this year only? Do you give it 2 more years, or do you, at the first, sign of, something, you get rid of somebody? Where does this go?
They got 1 year. Daryl Morey is the GM. They got 1 year.
True that.
They got 1 year. If it doesn't happen, I don't know how far they got to go. But I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm thinking anything short of Eastern Conference Finals. If they don't get there, one of them are gone. And if James Harden somehow is still in Houston, he won't be there no more. He'll be in Philly. So you guys figure that out. I mean, that's just my gut feeling. This is the year. I think he's going to play it out. He's going to give those guys an opportunity. But anything short of the Eastern Conference Finals, one of them are gone.
You talk about Daryl Morey for the most part. Hey, don't forget you got Elton Brand over there too. So Elton Brand, he been doing a good job over there too. Getting the players in, getting Doc Rivers in. So give Elton Brand a shout out too. You know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing.
Definitely.
He's done a good job. Yes.
Yeah.
They got one shot with Daryl. He's gonna give him one shot, and probably tell Doc, "Look, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do it your way. We're gonna see if it works, and see if you can you can't get these boys over the hump. Then one of them is gone. I'm giving
Who's the one, Antoine? Who's the one that got to go?
Ben Simmons?
Depending how they play in the playoffs.
Nah, you ain't going to get rid of Embiid. I don't think so. I don't see.
But I mean, if you talk about Daryl Morey, it's almost like the small ball thing. You know what I'm saying? So he might sacrifice that size and try to go elsewhere.
You think so? I don't see that.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, just think about what he did to the Rockets and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that was another, issue driven in itself as far as the coaching, what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as his philosophy, does he really believe in that big to have that impact? Because there's not that many bigs in the league that can have that impact like Embiid.
Yeah.
So to just get rid of him like he's nothing is, that's almost scary.
Could he play could he at his size, can he play like Rondo? Because he can't shoot.
Oh, Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons.
He can't shoot. So could his
He's a different player though. He's a different kind of a point. Like his scoring is usually when he pushes the ball, kind of beats the defense before they have a chance to set up, and he's going one-on-one and he's taking advantage of them and he's going in dunking and stuff like that. That's like one of his strengths. Rondo is a little bit more of a setting the whole team up and running the whole offense. And they're different kind of point guards. That's what I think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But I think the expectations are very high from within. I think at the Eastern Conference, they are one of the top 3 teams, I think, in the East. And it's to get to the finals. I think it's them, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. So those 3 teams are the 3 teams that's got to get that we're looking to come out the East. So I think anything short of the Eastern Conference Finals, look for one of those 2 superstars to get traded.
Okay, fair enough. Now, going to move along to another team that's close. That's actually a rival of the Sixers. Going to move on to Boston. Boston has 2 young guys, and Tatum and Brown, that are playing very well. I think Tatum's actually playing probably the best right now of the tandem. You got Kemba, who is not yet played yet due to the knee injury. We got a couple of new pieces with Tristan Thompson, Jeff T. They're still trying to get integrated with what they do there. Where do you guys see them going for this season? What do you think their ceiling is? Because they're not the best team out East. I don't think they're the best. However, they have potential to play with anybody and give anybody a hard series. I'm going to start with Etan on this one. Where do you think the Celtics are right now? And where do you think they are for the forecast for the season?
I wouldn't have them in the top two. You know, I would have Brooklyn ahead of them. I'd have Milwaukee ahead of them. You know, I would probably put Philly ahead of them. And would I put Miami ahead of them? I might put Miami ahead of them as well, to be honest with you. So I think they're right after that. I think they're a good team. I like how Jaylen Brown has been playing. You know, I like Jason Tatum. I like the way that they've been, you know, doing everything. And Kemba hasn't even played yet. But I think that that's where they are. I wouldn't put them above those other teams.
You know, for me, for Boston, I think it's all about Kemba Walker. You know, they're not talking about it a lot. It started in the bubble last year. And I mean, in the bubble where his knee started to really give him problems and he misses a significant amount of time. And now he's starting to miss a significant amount of time. So some things they're probably not telling the public, excuse me, on how hurt he really is. So I can't really judge how far they can go until they get to full strength. I do love to pick up a Tristan Thompson that needs some toughness inside, a rebounder. That was a great pickup. If the games I've watched early on in the season, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been terrific, look like all-stars. Both of the guys are scoring the basketball at a very, very high level. But Marcus Smart hasn't been the same guy that we saw in the bubble. Marcus was great in the bubble and kind of developed a jump shot. He was making shots, got better offensively. He's not the same guy. I got him a little higher than you, Etan. I think they're better than Miami. I got him in my top 4. Just because their ability to score the basketball when Kemba's healthy. They got 3 guys that can get it done on any given night. But if they're healthy, they're in the mix. They're definitely in the mix to come out the East. But they got a good foundation. You know, their foundation is strong. Gabe just maxed out Tatum, so both of those guys will be there for the next 3-4 years. So you got great wings. Marcus Smart is still young. You know, he's in the prime of his career. So they got some pieces there. Will they ever get back, you know, to championship level? You know, I don't know about that. But they're right there. If they can get healthy. I can't really make a fair assessment to Kemba Walker comes back, but they're in the top 4.
I like to pick up Tristan Thompson as well. I think he adds that grit. You know what I'm saying? He understands he's been on the championship team for the most part, so he understands the grind. He understands the impact that he brings to the game and what's needed to win games. The one player, I don't know, he keep popping up, Drew Holiday. I just wish maybe the Celtics could have got him. I like his size. I like what he brings to a team, able to run, you know what I'm saying, making it easy for Jaylen and Tatum, you know what I'm saying, make it easy for them. Also, his ability to defend and score the ball, and it gives him size at just that point guard position. You know what I'm saying? I love Kemba. He could score the ball. I just think, too, Drew, I just think they might have just elevated themselves a little bit more, just having him at the point guard position, you know what I'm saying, with the pieces that they already have. But it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, now that Kemba, he got a taste of what it's like, you know what I'm saying, to be playing in the playoffs and go as far as they did. You know, maybe it was just a shock to him as well. But now, I mean, we'll see if he's ready for another opportunity to go all the way.
Yeah, I like Drew Holiday, to be honest with you, going to Milwaukee though. But I'm high on Drew. So I think he was a key player and would have changed things for Boston the way I think he's changed things for Milwaukee. I thought he was great while he was down in New Orleans. You know what I mean? I think he's one of those underrated players where people don't appreciate all the stuff that he really does on the basketball court and, you know, what he means to a team. So I'm a big fan of his as well.
Now, do y'all think that Danny Ainge didn't maximize all those picks? Because about 5-6 years ago, he had a boatload of picks from the Brooklyn trade. And at the end of the day, they have the 2 main guys, Tatum and Brown, from it. There was other possibilities. They could have made some trades. They could have got other guys. They could have drafted other guys. Do you think he maximized the value of those with those picks, or do you think he left something on the table with those picks?
Well, everybody knows I'm not a Danny Ainge fan, so he's not one of my favorite people in the world. But I have to give him credit. He's done a terrific job of keeping the Celtics putting that team together in 2008 and opposing them. You guys win the championship. And basically taking that big three and making that run with the big three and being very successful, getting to the finals and making deep runs to the trade. When he traded Kevin and Paul and got those picks. And he's done a good job of keeping the organization very, very competitive. It's been I don't think in his tenure, they haven't been a competitive team that we talked about making a deep run. So he's drafted well. I mean, you're not going to hit a home run every time. But when you're able to, land a Kyrie Irving, Isaiah Thomas was a great surprise, even though he didn't do right by Isaiah. Isaiah had an unbelievable year. So he's done a terrific job. I mean, like I said, I'm not a big fan, but as far as basketball operations and putting the team in a good space and making sure that they did well with their picks. I mean, when you got an all-star like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown can possibly be an all-star. Marcus Smart, I think, even came from those picks too. So he's drafted well. You got to give him a lot of credit. He's done a good job. Now, where he did drop the ball at, he let Gordon Hayward walk out the door for free. You don't let a guy walk out the door for free like that to have value like he did. So he did drop the ball on that situation. But prior to that, he's done a good job.
I mean, you brought up the Isaiah Thomas situation, though, man. That situation, I was pissed. I was like, how they gonna do my man like that? I mean, going back to it, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I was watching him, and he lost his sister, and then he came back and played for them during the playoffs and sacrificed all of that stuff, and they traded him that summer.
Yes,
like that summer. I was like, oh man, and that's just when. When you always hear how people are like, players aren't loyal to a team and, players have to, this, that, and the other. You see things where teams do things like that. I'm like, man, y'all should never say that. Y'all should never say that because nobody talks about the team not being loyal to the player. I promise you I'm not going to go on a tangent, though. Y'all go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, leaving Beantown, we're gonna take it over to the Brooklyn. Where Brooklyn at? We got KD, Kyrie. Everybody's been waiting to see what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? How it's gonna fare out. Right now, they sitting 4-4. They already had a game or two off early in the season. Do they stay healthy? And what do you see them doing as far as in that East? Are they one of the top teams?
Yeah, they look good to me. I mean, I was one of those people who were a little doubtful for, coming in. I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. Especially when Kyrie was like, we don't really have no coach. We're just going to kind of coach by committee or whatever he said. I was like, well, that's not a good way to start, Kyrie. But the games I've watched, man, they look good. Kyrie looks great. You know what I mean? They're vibing. I like the whole team. The others, Shaq always talks about the others on the team. All the others are playing well. They have a deep bench. They have guys that are off the bench that could be starters. Like I can't say enough good things about them. I mean, I don't care what their record is. Just seeing them as a team, I see them as the number one team in the East.
I got to agree with you. I got them as my number one team in the East to get to the finals. Kevin Durant, obviously you want to make sure he comes back and he's the same Durant. And he is definitely the same Durant. And he's only going to get better. You got to remember this guy had 2 years off. So we got to remember he's going to get better and better as the season goes along. Kyrie, they got probably the most talented offensive team in the league. Well, at least in the Eastern Conference they do. My thing that I worry about with Brooklyn is defensively. How good can they be defensively? When I watched the Washington. We talked about it earlier. I saw a lot of glaring weaknesses on the defensive end. Kyrie's got posted up a ton in that game, and they went at him a little bit. The interior is Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan. Which one are you going to go with? Jared Allen turned down money. Another guy that turned down money. So he's playing for a contract. Are you going to go with him? He had a huge game yesterday. So they got some things, and then Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, I feel bad for him. They losing him. He's a big piece to what they have, but sometimes that helps a little bit because LeVert is a big time player. So you got him too. So they loaded. I like Brooklyn as when you got two guys that can get it done on any given night. Two guys that can close games out. Two of our better finishers in the league. They can close games out. They're gonna be very difficult to beat. And if Kevin Durant continues to get better, stays healthy, and get back to the level that he was playing at Golden State, and it's gonna come. I mean, he's already playing good. So imagine how good he's gonna be 30 games into the season. So they are my number one team right now.
Do you think they have enough defense to get to the finals? Because they've been getting up a lot of points. And if you look at the roster, outside of their big guys, there's not a lot of defenders on that roster that are known for getting stops. Do you think they need to go out and get a piece, or do you think they have enough there to make it happen?
Well, that's Steve Nash got a decision to make. And that's where I don't like D'Antoni sitting on the bench with me, next to me. I would probably prefer more of a defensive-minded coach as my head assistant. Right next to me. You know what I'm saying? I would have rather had a defensive-minded coach, because if I'm talking to my coach, and Post can probably answer this better than me because he's been in these meetings before. But late in games, do you go with Joe Harris on the floor, or do you put a defensive guy in the game? You know, do you go with your 5 best offensive players? Do you go with the centers that can make stops? Those are decisions that Steve Nash is going to have to make. And, you know, we'll see if he's going to be able to handle those decisions. But I saw that they're going after their, was it 5.7 million exemption that they get, disabled exemption they'll be able to get. I think that should be a defensive guy. That should be either a defensive wing or even add another a defensive point guard. You got to get some more defense. I do agree with you on that. But that's going to be based on Steve, because they're going to have decisions to make late in games. Do you go with your offensive group, or do you keep a couple defensive players on there? And I don't know. This is Steve's first go at it. We'll see what happens.
But I think the good thing about them is that they have options, and they have different personnel that they could put on the floor depending on what they want at that time. So you mentioned Joe Harris. You know, he's a bucket from 3. You know, so if you need that, and you saw during the game against Washington where KD was telling them, shoot the ball. Like, what do you do? Like, he's telling him, shoot the damn ball. You know what I mean? Like he kept saying it, because when he shoots it, that mother's going in. So that's just part of the draw up. And you know, especially in the game right now, you need a 3-point shooter like that, just sitting at the corner, just waiting for you to give him the ball. Now, on if I was the other team, I would attack him every time down the floor. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't move his feet well. But he's good at what he does. So to your point, they're going to have to take him out of the game sometimes if somebody's going at him the way that they should be going at him, if they have a mismatch. But like you said, if they can get a defensive player, I mean, especially on the wing, I think they will be a complete team. Like, what weaknesses do they have if they get a defensive player? Because really, as far as the 2 big men, you know, yeah, they're going to be, you know, DeAndre Jordan, Jared, which one to play, but they'll be interchangeable. I mean, you'll be able to play them interchangeable all season. So that's their only weakness is the defensive, you know, player on the perimeter. So they get that.
I mean, with Joe Harris, and I think the matchups will be, you know what I'm saying, during that, you talk about late game, will be very important as well. But you still got 2 bucket getters in Kyrie and KD. So with that, you know what I'm saying, Joe really doesn't have to be on the floor, because they could do it, you know, they can score any way you want to. They could take it to the rack, mid-range, or 3-point, you know, or the 3-point shot. Therefore, now you bring the defender. Now he has to be a respectable shooter, because if he's not respectable, you know, he just playing defense, then of course that's another body that a defender that they got to worry about. So as long as he's a solid 3-point shooter, of course, I mean, you're going to pick your poison at the end of the day. And, you know what I'm saying, with that, but you still have Kyrie and KD that's capable of just still making things happen, where that defender probably won't be affected. He just got to be respectable at the end of the day. But Joe Harris, he came a long way, because he was in Cleveland and wasn't sure if the young fella was going to make it, you know what I'm saying? But he found his niche. He found a team that loved him. He's been working hard. Now he got his money. So he's sitting a little comfortable and everything. Now he's on a team, a championship, you know, team in a sense. So I'm happy for Joe. So like I said, down the stretch, it's just going to be that matchup and who they're playing. at the end of the day. But he can shoot the hell off the ball.
What do you think about LeVert? Because I've been impressed with him, but then at other times I don't know. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'm like, well, bro, you're not Kyrie now. You can't take every shot. You know what I mean?
So, I mean but you got to think too.
Yeah.
He's came a long way too. You talk about his injury. He came back. He got his little groove back. He's been killing. He was scoring, and even when those guys weren't playing, he was holding the fort down for him. You know what I'm saying? All you was hearing about was LeVert. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they had. So of course, right now his confidence is high, which it should be. And I think, it's a good mixture. It's a solid piece for him as well. And I don't want to bring it up, but they talk about Harden to Brooklyn. You do that. That's one of the. But I'm just, but if he does, that'd be one of the pieces that they had to get rid of at the end of the day. But for LeVert, I think he's held it down. He's came a long way, and he's proven himself that he could be that guy to a degree. And now you just add him in the mix with KD and Kyrie. That's just another weapon with confidence that you have.
They're a team that's going to have to, stay healthy. You're going to have to really take care of their bodies. Steve Nash got to be really, in tune to that and making sure those guys get through the season to get ready for that run for the playoffs. They're going to be very difficult to beat. You guys touched on it. They got everything. They got all the pieces, and they got two closers. And to touch on what you talk about, Etan, I just wanted to say, I just watched the Lakers. And I watched the Lakers be able to actually take defense over offense. And that's why Dwight Howard and Anthony, was so good. He allowed Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard to both be on the floor together. And they just took that. That's why I was just thinking about, can Brooklyn make that sacrifice and, maybe have a little less offense on the floor at times, to sacrifice for that. So that's why I made that statement. But I do believe Brooklyn is the best team in the East, and they'll be a team you have to go through when you want to get to the finals.
Agreed.
All right, we got the last team out East that we haven't covered yet. They've come up short last couple of years. They've been the favorite going into the offs. Going to go with Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis extended. They bring in Drew Holiday. They have the botched trade for Bogdanovic. Where do we stand with them? What's your thoughts about them? And what's the deal with them?
Well, I like to start this off. I think one, they should have a chip on their shoulder. After getting upset in the playoffs, they should have a chip on their shoulder. And to me, this is all about Giannis. The Milwaukee Bucks did their job as far as adding some pieces to their team to make them a better team. I love the Bobby Portis pickup. Obviously, the Holiday pickup was huge. So they've done their job. Even Forbes, the pickup of Forbes was huge. So they've got shooters. They got everything around him. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. And it's tough to say this about a two-time MVP, but he got to get better. Giannis has to get better. He got exposed against the Miami Heat. He has to get him a 15-foot jump shot or either a post-up game. Not necessarily worry about the three-point shot. Everybody can't be a great three-point shooter. It's nice to step out every now and then and make a couple a game, but he has to get a mid-range game. He has to get a post game. And I think it was funny to hear people talk about, oh, they should add this with Giannis. He should go play with this stuff. No, Giannis need to get better himself. It ain't about him playing with somebody else. He's good enough to get it done. I don't think he's a 30-point scorer. I think that's putting a lot on him. I think Chris Middleton has to be a little bit more selfish. He showed that in the games that Giannis missed in the playoffs, that he can be that one that guy that get you 25 or 30 on any given night. You got Holiday. So you got other scorers on the team. It's not necessary that he has to get 30. I think Giannis needs to focus in on some other things, being a great defensive player that we know he could be, and locking down other teams' superstar. And then I don't know what it is. It may be a phobia or something like that. He got to get better from the free throw line, guys. You can't have it in his hands late, and he doesn't make free throws. We saw early in the season, he got fouled for the game and missed it. So he's got to get better on the free throw line. But they're right there. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Brooklyn and you know what I'm saying, and get to the finals. That's not far-fetched. They're right there. But I want to see if they got that chip on their shoulder. They should have that chip on their shoulder. They should be wanting to get there. And they got the pieces around them. It's all on Giannis now. They got the pieces around him now. We can see if he can get over that hump.
I think that one of the things that they need is they need to knock down shots. And if they're knocking down shots, then it makes Giannis be able to do his thing. If they're not knocking down shots, then any team would do exactly what Miami did last year, which is they went almost to the Syracuse zone and had it clogged up because they weren't knocking down shots, and then Giannis couldn't go anywhere. It's funny because, my son, we play 2K and Milwaukee is his team. And that's what I do. I pack it inside to not let him dribble down and you know what I mean? Because he's just going to come down the middle and just be dunking all over the place. But if they can have guys that knock down shots from the outside, but if they don't, then it's not going to work. And any team is going to be able to zone out. I mean, Giannis is not going to get a consistent jump shot by the time, he's just not this year. That's not his strength. But if he's able to operate and move and stuff like that, shoot, he'll score 40 just dunking on you and Euro stepping all over the place. But they need guys to knock down shots. I think that's more of what needs to happen in order for them to be successful. I don't think it's as much as Giannis, because Giannis is doing what he's doing, but he can't do it if guys not knocking down shots because he don't have no room to operate in the way that he produces.
But I just thought last year they had shooters, guys that could shoot the ball.
They was missing. They was missing right? at crucial time. They was missing.
Yeah, you got to make.
Yeah.
I like Jrue Holiday. I think with Giannis, for him, his pace, his rebounding ability, and him able to push the ball in an open floor, I think that's great. But when things slow down, I think they have to have more of a an offense that sort of get him in that mid-post range where he's not working as hard. And hopefully with Jrue Holiday, like late game, you had a pick and roll option there, but still have enough movement where he's not working so hard getting to the basket where, he's not a great jump shot. Maybe less dribbles. Like I said, mid-post catches. Now it's easy back downs, turnaround jump shots, or little hook shots here and there. And then you still have your shooters on the outside. But you spacing the floor where, teams are backing up and he don't have that much space to room. That's because of that. You know what I'm saying? So the shooters don't really work if, at the end of the day, if they take that away from him. So I just hope they, like late game, they figure it out where they can have the best of both worlds. Middleton, he's able to score. Giannis, he's able to take over and be, the MVP and the special player that he is. So that's something hopefully they'll figure out in Jrue Holiday and help him.
Yeah, I agree.
How do y'all feel about Chris Middleton being the go-to guy down the stretch because he can at least get his own shot and he's a guy that can hit the three-point shot if necessary? Do y'all feel that is something that they should look into going forward, or do you think it has to be Giannis?
I don't know. Go ahead. I think whoever can knock down the outside shot has to do it consistently, and that will open it up for Giannis to do his thing.
Man,
that's what I think.
I'm not a big analytical guy. I don't get into that, but Chris Middleton a 40, 50, 90 guy, so I don't think that's a bad option. You know what I mean? And he showed me a lot. The games that Giannis missed in the playoffs, he showed me that he's got the capability of making big shots late. He makes his free throws. So that may be an option. There's nothing wrong with your best player being a decoy sometimes too. You know what I mean? But, and we saw great superstars struggle from the free throw line. Hell, LeBron struggles from the free throw line sometimes. So we've seen that. But for Giannis, it was, it's getting to a point that it could possibly be a problem. You know what I mean? We don't want that. It's becoming a 50% free throw shooter. So you want to start to get that thing back up to at least 70. And he's got the capability to do that. He works hard.
All right, so look, so now we just finished up that East over there. So who y'all got? Give me y'all top 8 and who y'all got coming out.
Oh, 8 strong. I'm gonna go. My top is I got Brooklyn 1.
Yep.
Milwaukee 2. Philly 3. Boston 4. Miami 5. Indiana 6. Atlanta 7. And Orlando 8. That's mine.
I got everything the same except for I got the Wizards over Orlando in the 8th spot.
Damn, well, they just got you living in the area, big dog.
I mean, I got the Wizards. Hey, I'm betting on your man Westbrook. I'm a Westbrook fan too. I think as far as those two, the Wizards and Orlando, I got the Wizards going over there.
Okay.